What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show on this lovely Tuesday evening. We have a few topics to go over this evening. Not a ton of news compared to the last few weeks, but we do have some interesting stuff to go over. But it's always a good time here, and we'll say hey to the chat really quick. And in case you want, this is theme parking. I forgot to say the name of the show. We got Kiki and Luca. We got Kaylee. We've got Matt the cat. I don't know if he's actual cat or not, but we'll see. Classy Cat. We have Battle of the Cats in here. We got Jabberwocky, maybe, perhaps.
Yes.
J. David. Sometimes these names, like, there's no spaces, and my brain just like short circuits. I don't really. We got TJ Magnify, maybe there. I see Vash in here as well. Theme Park Conductor. What's up, Conductor? And Rich Spots in the early going here. Thank you guys all for being here. And we got Steve My Rick from Austin. Steve My Rick is here. So before we get into talking about our topics here, of course, we're going to introduce our great panel. And it's just the three amigos tonight. We're gonna have a little fireside chat about some theme park and entertainment topics here. So I forgot to add the fire here. We'll see if we can get that going. But as always, we're joining Mr. Orange Grove 55. Thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you out there?
Yeah, it's always fun talking shop with you two fine gentlemen. Everybody in the chat, Theme Park Conductor, Kaylee, Nemo, Lord, Jonathan, TJ, everybody, welcome in. We have a great show today. But yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking theme parks, movies, studio. I mean, last night we were on with Theme Park Wizard and we got into the rap game. So we dip into just about everything here. So
Wizard left like real quick to go get a drink of water, and OG within 30 minutes we're going deep lore on hip hop conspiracies. I think he came back like, what happened? Like, well, you left us alone for 30 seconds. What do you think we're gonna do?
I mean, come on, right? Come on. We went on a little side quest. It's all good, you know. But but I appreciate you guys. Everybody, welcome. Enjoy the show. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we're also joined by Mr. 10,000 subs, Mr. Vash Sky himself, the Vash Sky Parkcast. I'm just going to say right now, I told you it was going to be like a week. I know you were underselling it, but I was like, it's going to happen by next week. Yep. So congrats on 10K Vash. And of course, thank you for being here. And where can they find you if you'd like to celebrate with Vash for 10K subs? Where can they find you?
Absolutely. The best celebration is going to be at Vash Sky Parkcast tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern right there. We're going to be celebrating with a bunch of our friends and all of you who have made this tremendous, momentous occasion possible. Thank you so much for everybody out there. And we have even people joining right now. It's fantastic. Dance Life of the Kingdom, The Real Ventures. We have Vixen coming on in there. Demo. Thank you so much for coming on in to this amazing theme park. And Juliet has joined us as well, which is very, very cool. But Vash Sky Parkcast is where you can find me, Vash Sky on X. And guys, we got to get into it. So much to cover.
Let's do it.
I know. By the way, did you guys know the stats of, I looked this up one time, the amount of YouTube channels that actually hit even 1,000 subs is like 9%.
Yes, I've heard that. It's very low.
To hit 10,000 are anywhere from 3 to 5%. So listen, it's still weird to me. Like, you know, you see these channels with massive numbers, but like, even if you got 1,000, like that's more than most people ever get to. So it's kind of humbling when you see them in that lens of like, oh, okay. Like it's a big deal to hit those milestones. So
it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
No, it's a huge deal. And you know, behind the scenes, there's so much work, blood, sweat, and tears when it comes to this content. So it's really, really rewarding to see people taking to it and stuff. So it's pretty awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it is, like, honestly, I always say all the time, it is the most fun, if you want to call it a job, I've ever had. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm really bad about celebrating milestones. Like, I don't know what, I'm very goal oriented. When I hit something, my brain just goes, okay, cool, next thing. And so I've had to learn how to kind of like slow down and be like, it's okay to celebrate sometimes. I don't know, maybe, I don't know where that stems from. Probably something in my childhood, but we won't go into that tonight. But we do have some topics to get to. First one, I find this very interesting. Now, this is a topic that we have almost discussed on various live streams due to, you know, there's been a lot of news lately, so we didn't really get to it. But there has been, I would say, not about the West Coast. I have heard the West Coast, but at least at Disney World, I would say a slow burn of maybe a little bit of a reshaping, I guess you might call it, of Tomorrowland that's been going on. There's been obviously some refurb of rides. There's been some the signage changed, some of the rocks. Like there has been some things going on. And with the refurbishments that Disney's been doing, there is a lot of smoke to this. And I think this is beyond just what fans would like to see. But there is a lot of rumors out there about something happening with Space Mountain, whether that's just a retrack or a reimagining of it. And I think that it's very possible. So this is an article here from Blog Mika that kind of goes into this. I think this originally stemmed from WDW Magic, and they got to talking about that. But what are you guys' thoughts on a potential something happening, reimagining or something of Space Mountain? Because to me, I think it makes a lot of sense given the lands that they're currently building. You know, they've already done Big Thunder Mountain. They're doing a lot of these refurbs. I think it fits into the timeline here to go in here on this ride, which is definitely old. And if you're not going to get to it now, I don't know when you're going to get to this, because this ride is not getting any smoother as time goes along. But what are you guys' thoughts on the potential of this?
Actually, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Vash. My apologies.
Oh no, please. My diatribe might be a little bit long. So go ahead, OG. Better go first.
All right. Yeah, no, I actually look, I make no bones about it. I do support change in the parks. Not every change, right? I mean, not every change is good, but I do believe these parks were designed to evolve, right? Disneyland will never be completed as long as there's imagination left in the world, yada, yada, yada. We've all heard it a million times, but it's true, right? I actually think this is a good idea. Now, look, it might turn out to be doo-doo. We don't know, but I like the idea that they're going in there and they are giving us a new track. I think this attraction, being 50 years old, it really needs that. The one out here in California, we got a new retrack. They gutted ours and did ours back in 2005, 2006. I mean, so we've gotten it, and ours is a younger attraction than the one in Florida, right? So I think this is very much needed. I know fans are worried about it. I think the attraction itself, right, aside from the queue, you can't really mess it up. It's a roller coaster in the dark with some stars. I think we're going to be good there. I think if there's any controversial changes, I think you might see that in the queue area. But I will say this, at least this is all subjective, but for me personally, I feel like Big Thunder turned out, it had its problems, but I think it turned out overall really good. The Muppet roller coaster turned out really good. Animation Courtyard looks amazing. Huge upgrade from before. I think they've been on this trajectory lately at Disney World, where it's been on the plus. It's been on the upside. You know what I'm saying? Not perfect, but on the upside. So I feel going into this project, I think it's going to be okay. I also do love the fact that you guys are slowly getting a new Tomorrowland, kind of in this piecemeal kind of method where you guys got Tron, right? You're getting a brand new Carousel of Progress. You're getting probably, it's a rumor, but probably a brand new Space Mountain. We got a whole upgrade now with Buzz Lightyear. So it's little by little, you guys are getting a new Tomorrowland, which is kind of interesting. I was talking to Vash the other night on the phone, and we were talking about this, and they kind of did the same thing with our New Orleans. It was this multi-year thing where we got Tiana's, and they added and expanded our Club 33, and they added Tiana's Palace. So it seems like this is the road they go. This kind of this piecemeal sort of updates. And it looks like you guys are getting a new Tomorrowland, which, I mean, as a Californian, as a Disneylander, I mean, I wish, man. So, I mean, I don't know. For me, it's mostly positive. But I do want to say this. There is the possibility that it doesn't turn out good. But I think right now, I'm pretty optimistic just because the recent track record, I think personally, for me, has been pretty decent. What say you, Vash?
I wish I could be as optimistic. Well, it's interesting because Space Mountain has actually been on the chopping block before. Actually, going back to 2008, when there were some conversations about doing a potential retrack right there. It didn't actually happen. We got some queue upgrades, and I think we got a whole system upgrade in order to alleviate ops and so forth. Preventing cascades where they can, and that was back in 2009. But OG's right. Disneyland has enjoyed a new track for, more than 20 years now, which is pretty insane when you think about it, because it was actually 2 years younger than Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom right there, opening in 1975. Disneyland opening in 1977. 2 years younger when it got its retrack. So this is a 50-year-old track right there. It's very, very old. She's no girl. And obviously it's Arrow era. I understand that Arrow didn't actually produce the track, but it's basically an Arrow track. And when you think about it, right, these aging coasters, this is why a lot of theme park proprietors all over the country are getting rid of their Arrow era coasters. I mean, Arrow's been out of commission since what, the 1990s, right? And even SNS, who picked up a lot of their basically their company and their portfolio and so forth. Well, like any new car manufacturer, right? You're only going to be producing parts for so long. For Walt Disney World, for Disney's case, it's like, look, where are we going to get parts in order to service this aging coaster? Not, easily found, easily sought. So it does come a point in every single coaster's life where you have a shelf life for those tracks themselves. And so I think Disney's kind of reevaluating its expenses as it relates to Walt Disney World. They want to go ahead and keep those costs down. This is why they get rid of something like Muppet Vision 3D, for example. This is why they might also get rid of something like, I don't know, It's Tough to Be a Bug, or maybe even Splash Mountain itself. A lot of these things, Rivers of America, many of these things are oriented towards, hey, look, is it necessarily making us money or is it costing us money? That kind of optimization, these things happen. It's occurring right here. The problem with Space Mountain, though, is that, well, a lot of it's grandfathered in. So there really is no retracking of Space Mountain without wiping out substantial portions of it. And honestly, do you really think that they're going to go all in on a toboggan-style coaster in 2026? I just don't think so. Again, Orlando's home to some of the best coasters in the world. Hagrid's Magical Motorbike Adventure. Right next to Space Mountain is Tron. Right next to Magic Kingdom is Epcot with Cosmic Rewind. Velocicoaster, the list goes on and on. Iron Gwazi, right? So I think Disney's looking at this and going, hey, look, listen, we can go ahead and give this a new lease on life. I do think they will. I think the dual track Alpha Omega toboggan style coaster that this is known for, I think is going to be retired permanently. In its place, it might be something like Disneyland, but they also might have something that's a little bit more ambitious. That might be kind of interesting to see. I don't think they're going to do what Tokyo is doing right now with Space Mountain or Earthrise and all of that. No, I think the iconic canonical shape of this will remain something. Yeah. I mean, it's 300 feet wide, 183 feet high. I mean, it is a massive structure. You could fit a lot of track in there. But the dual track nature of this, the toboggan style, I think that goes away. Also, too, Jared, you can't really do onboard audio with toboggan style coasters. I think they also want to go ahead and incorporate that, maybe with projections, similar to the update that maybe Disneyland benefited from back in 2005, so that they can have a little bit of ROI with this coaster, right? You can imagine the possibilities of having special events linked to Space Mountain, maybe in a similar way that Hyperspace Mountain or Ghost Galaxy benefits Disneyland. I can kind of see a similar thing where they're doing Christmas overlays, Halloween overlays, etc. And all of that's unlocked when you actually go in there and change this meaningfully. If people like this traditional experience, I think it's on the way out. I just don't think there's any way to get around that from the company's standpoint. It's just expense I just don't want to keep paying. The queue, hopefully they keep the music right there. I know a lot of people are big fans of that. I think they might. But remember, folks, if all of these issues related to Walt Disney World Space Mountain also exist with the Matterhorn, and that's a much more dire situation than retrofitting the inside of a 300-foot structure. I mean, it's much more complex, and losing it forever, well, is a possibility. Jared, go ahead, please. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on all this.
I agree with what you're saying, because I didn't remember it was Arrow that made that, but I knew that the ride manufacturer was no longer around. So I do think this becomes reimagined, because I think you're exactly right. I don't think you can really just retract this. And when you think about ride capacity and all the things that go into these coasters now, it's so much different now than it was when they built Space Mountain. And I suppose the pro to this, if you're worried about them messing this up, is the pro of this ride is the fact that it's in the dark. So it's really maybe difficult to really mess this up. Now, I think if you took some aspects, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not saying it would operate the same way, but you take some aspects of Cosmic Rewind, potentially, like that part where you feel like you're floating with the stars. If you're able to do that in here, that could be pretty cool. If it's a smoother track, I do imagine, like you said, you probably have something like a Guardians type of car or something that's 2x2. I don't think you're going to have this single file toboggan type thing. And so for all of the refurbs we've heard lately, I've got lots of concerns about Carousel Progress. Big Thunder Mountain was okay. It wasn't as good as it could have been. It was just much smoother ride. And I think when you're looking at Space Mountain, I've said the joke for a long time, that thing needs to be sponsored by Excedrin, because the last few times I've ridden that thing, my head hurts and my neck hurts, and it's a rough ride.
Well, and the other, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, if you go in here and at least make it smoother, where it's a better ride experience, the onboard audio, I think, is something you're seeing from a lot of these rides now, where that opens it up to, it's crazy with Cosmic, because if you just add a Christmas song at Christmas time, wait times go crazy for that ride. So as simple as changing a projection or adding a song into a ride, something as small as that can create a lot more demand. I think they will definitely go in this direction. And maybe, like, I love the aesthetics of Space Mountain. So if you could really lean into that, I think that could be good. So I actually think this one, dare I say, I'm not going to dare say it, it's almost dummy proof in terms of like how you could really mess this up. And I say all this to say that, and then they'll probably mess it up. But I do feel like being in the dark and all those elements, it's a pretty decent recipe to have something new come in here that would be a better thing than what we currently have, which is a 50-year-old coaster.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, when you're dealing with the theme of tomorrow, having a rickety jerky coaster,
Right.
I mean, there comes a point when it's just bad show. I mean, let's be real. I mean, this land, of all the lands that Disney has ever built, this is the land that should be the more forward thinking land, and the one that should evolve the most. I mean, so, and this is the thing, I think a lot of people, and I understand it, get into this nostalgic mode with Disney, and I get that, but sometimes I do believe I think sometimes that handicaps Disney a little bit. I really do. I think sometimes I kind of wish that it wasn't like that in the culture, because I feel like if they were given the freedom to sort of play a little more, I think that would be better, especially for a land like this that is Tomorrowland. You're going to want to have more forward-thinking ideas and concepts. You don't want it to be super nostalgic. That goes against the whole theme of the area.
Or what even is Tomorrowland? Like, define it. Like, because I feel like this is a land that without identity now. So it's like they need to go, if they're going to revamp all of Tomorrowland, which I think clearly they're doing something, whether that's a full refurb or just updating stuff. But is it a land of tomorrow, or is it a land that, in my opinion, you pick like the 80s and you say this is a vision of the future, what we thought would be in the 80s, kind of like what they did with The Incredibles or Fantastic Four, where it was like Fantastic Four took place in the 60s, but it was a futuristic, but it still had the aesthetics of the 60s. I think something like that could work really well in Tomorrowland. You already got Tron that could fit that. Maybe Space Mountain becomes part of that. And I also think if you're looking at D23, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, they're not going to probably announce any new lands. So something like a Space Mountain redo would make a lot of sense as an announcement for D23, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a tough spot to be in. I mean, I say I love change, and I do, but I'm not going to pretend like all change is good, and I don't want Disney to go in there with a wrecking ball to everything. So there is a level of, like, on Disney's part, kind of like this creative intelligence of when to keep, when to pull back. I mean, what to keep, what to change. You know, that does take a little bit of maneuvering there. I don't envy them for that at all. But I do think this coaster, I mean, I've been hearing for years, this thing is rocky, jerky, and it's in Tomorrowland. That's just not a good look for this theme, in my opinion. But go ahead, Bash. Sorry about that.
It was, I will say from my personal experience, right, being a Californian native, and honestly, like, I lived through the Dick Dale Space Mountain and all of that, rockin' Space Mountain. When I first went on Space Mountain at Walt Disney World back in 2002, I was pretty disappointed with it. Just not gonna lie, because the bar had already been raised, and maybe Tokyo felt the same way, because when they opted to pick out the best of each park, let's say they opted for Disneyland Space Mountain, not the larger cousin in Walt Disney World. I think that's pretty telling right there. And Disney once again went with Disneyland Space Mountain with Hong Kong. So you have this track record, right, of going to I think what works, and I think Disney feels that something like that works maybe long term for them. The critical thing about this, though, is that a lot of people have a lot of memories tied up with this. There's no question about that. I'm sensitive to that, obviously. And I think the nostalgia part of it, right, where people have great hesitance giving up yet another coaster, is coming from, well, look at the last 10 years of Walt Disney World's history. They've lost, what, innovations, eliminations, Stitch's Great Escape, Ellen's Energy Adventure, Great Movie Ride, Muppet Vision 3D, Dinosaur. They've lost the original version of Rocket Roller Coaster, original version of Country Bear Jamboree. They've lost now Carousel Progress. They've lost, Liberty Bell, maybe even Liberty Square, but certainly Rivers of America, Splash Mountain. These are all within the last 10 years.
That's a crazy list when you break that down. You're right.
Oh,
man.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's wild. Oh, that's wild. Well, one thing too that I'm very curious what you guys think about this, because we've seen, you're right, we've seen a lot of stuff go. We've seen two coasters come in recent years that I wonder if these two coasters have changed the math for Space Mountain, because we have, not too far from Space Mountain, we have Tron, right? And then we also have Cosmic Rewind in Epcot. Mm-hmm. I wonder do you guys feel like those two kind of similar kind of Tomorrowlandy futuristic coasters are sort of aging this one? I mean, if you went on Cosmic Rewind and then went on Space Mountain, it'd be like, what is this, right? So do you feel like by default, these newer things are sort of making this look worse than it ever has in a way? I don't know. Am I tripping, or is that kind of a possibility?
It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Go ahead, Jared.
No, I'll let you, because I knew you had another point, but no, I completely agree. Like, I think the smoothness and how, I mean, Cosmic Rewind has been probably the best new thing Disney has done. And not as you mentioned, like Hagrid's and the coasters at Universal, like, people are used to these like thrilling, smooth coasters now. And then you go on Space Mountain, like it's like somebody poured gravel in the railings. You're just jumping around the whole time. And like, I agree with you. At some point, it does become bad show. And I think given where this ride currently is and has been, you were saying 2002. I can tell you the last decade, this thing's just gotten worse and worse. And Tron probably brings a bigger highlight to it, considering it sits right behind it. And you go ride Tron than this, you see the differences in 50 years of roller coaster technology in a vacuum between those two rides.
Sure.
Do you guys think it's a possibility we get like the Cosmic Rewind?
I wondered if they do, although it's in the dark, so they may not, but I wouldn't be shocked if they have some sort of like, you're seeing a lot of these coasters do this spinning stuff now. I wouldn't be shocked by it.
Yeah. I think it's very possible. I mean, obviously, you look at Tokyo, right? They're going maybe in that direction for their Space Mountain right now. So do you adapt some of that and put it in a 300-foot structure? I think there is a possibility that is the case. I don't know quite the length that would be for a coaster like this. Obviously, it'd be single track. Some people are saying launch coaster. It's quite interesting that might be the case right there. If, in fact, they do go single track, though, a lot of people are worried about that queue. I think the queue, right, to get you from Magic Kingdom to load unload, that might be fine. It's after that, right? It's load unload that might be really reimagined in a big way, right? Because you're not servicing two tracks anymore. And also, too, this coaster has no real effective way that I could find of getting disabled guests on. Now, that was one of the benefits of the 2005 redo of Space Mountain at Disneyland, is that they actually added a switch track in order to have guests with mobility issues and so forth take their time and actually be transported on to the rail for this thing, and obviously back off. Otherwise, you have to go within 20 seconds is the dispatch time, target dispatch time for Space Mountain at Disneyland. It's very, very short. In fact, Walt Disney World's is anywhere between 20 to 30 seconds as well. So, in terms of accommodation, this also has problems. But certainly when you compare to the broader, coaster market in Florida, it's also about to get more dense, right? You talk about Stardust Racers, that's obviously a big hit, cosmic themed as well. And then you look at Fast and the Furious, that's coming in very, very shortly. So where does Space Mountain sit in all of that? Not well. Also, too, it is a ride in the dark. One of the problems is you can't necessarily prepare yourself for those turns, unlike the Matterhorn over at Disneyland. So for a dark experience like this, it's really critical that it be as smooth as possible. Unfortunately, it isn't. I rode it in 2023, Jared. It's very rough. It's extremely rough. I know a lot of guys have a lot of nostalgia for it. And like I said, I read that big list out just to show that, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you lost. That doesn't necessarily happen at Disneyland. Walt Disney World, I mean, it's immense. So I get it. I understand the trepidation. And they could still screw this up. I'm not saying that they, I'm not trying to dissuade your fears of that. That could happen.
Yep.
But this is going to happen eventually, inevitably. Everything has a shelf life in the coaster community. Certainly this does.
Yeah, and I think when you look at, and I think you're right, it's probably well past time for this to have something done with it, whether that's a refurb or something. Because I think 2005 was the last time they did any updates to this. I think they added some, was it music in the queue? It wasn't anything really to do with the ride much. It was like these ancillary things that they did. And I think if you look at okay, 2009. If you look at the timing of this, I mean, now is the time to do this. And I think if you're Disney, they're anticipating a lot more people coming onto property after these new lands are done. And another thing I think they're doing with these refurbs is trying to create some demand for some things that are considered like these classic attractions. So when they have these new lands, it does push people around. They go, well, let's go check out the new Space Mountain. And not just have everybody congregated in the Cars area or the Villains Land and things like that. So I think they're trying to also create some demand off of the people they expect coming in here. And I will just say Space Mountain is one. If you do it right, it could be a great coaster. Yeah. And I agree with you, Vash. Like I haven't been a huge fan of being completely in the dark, and then you're going, all of a sudden you're just like, and
exactly. You're flipped the other way. Yeah,
times on this ride where I'm just like, oh gosh. And so making it smoother, if you're going to keep it in the dark, which I don't know if they will or you should, being smooth needs to be number one, I would say.
Well, and being a ride themed to a rocket ship, having it bumpy is not it.
Not
you
great,
know what I'm saying? Yeah, go ahead, Vash.
Well, and we can imagine what they can do with maybe projection technology. Obviously, we've seen that in Disneyland's for sure, but also to Disneyland Paris and other places. You can certainly get very creative when it comes to certain technology. And well, Bruce Vaughan, he's all about that tech now, isn't he? Unfortunately, at the detriment of classic attractions, but that's neither here nor there. I want to go ahead and talk about that kind of programming, though. I think that's really important there to figure out the timeline where this all might actually take place. A lot of people are saying, well, maybe it doesn't happen until after these additions in Cars Land and Villains Land. But I do agree with you, Jared. I think, Disney has looked at the capacity for Magic Kingdom as it currently stands right now. I think they're comfortable with what they have, even without Rivers of America, with all this construction actually happening in place here. We saw a little bit of that with Big Thunder. Remember when Big Thunder actually went down? It went down at a time that overlapped the removal of Rivers of America for a period of time. Mm-hmm. That's how you kind of know that they're okay with taking a big coaster like this down for a period of time. I do agree with you. I think it's in preparation for when Cars Land, when Villains Land comes online. That way they can have people come over on this side of the park rather than everybody just going to the west side. I think it's it's part of their strategy that we're seeing, not just isolated in Magic Kingdom, actually all over Walt Disney World in certain places.
Yeah. Now, Vash, not to get too off topic, but you brought up Cars Land, Piston Peak. And you and I actually were on the phone the other night about this as well. I'm not as familiar with Walt Disney World. I just assume everything you guys have is like 90 million acres. I was looking at a tweet from Jack from DSNY, and great content creator. Everybody should check him out. But he had like a great graphic showing like, okay, Villains Land is going to be approximately like 14, 15 acres. And then you're going to have Piston Peak, which will be about 4.5. Now that kind of threw me back a little bit because that's pretty small, right? I'm like, now here's the thing, that is pretty small. I mean, that's pretty much going to be probably just the attraction with the seat ticket as well, I would imagine, mixed in there. Out here in California, our Cars Land is about 12 acres. It's a pretty sizable land, right? So you and I, Vash, were talking on the phone about it, and now a lot of people have brought to my attention. I think you brought this up too, Vash, where Piston Peak, to be fair, isn't really its own land. It's kind of like a subland within the bigger, broader frontier land.
Until they get at Liberty Square.
Yeah, there you go. That's the kicker. Well, Jared, what do you think about this, man? Like, do you feel like 4 acres? I feel like that's really small for this kind of property, but I guess when it's mixed in with Frontierland, it's okay. But it feels like just enough for that one ride and maybe that C ticket.
Yeah, it is small. Which goes into a whole other thing about, is Frontierland just going to be Frontierland in name only, which I think it is off of this new thing. I do think Liberty Square is potentially on the chopping block, which I think if they do that, they'll expand that or something. And I also think in those plans, and I think you and I did a video on this, OG, a couple months ago, but I think they're going to do that Haunted Mansion parlor in part of the new thing they're building also. So I don't know. Like, it's very interesting how that, like, I'm very curious about the reception that the Cars area will get, because I think if they were going to do, and not that I'm like for replicating all these things, but if they're going to do a Cars lane like you have in DCA in Magic Kingdom, I would have no question that the thing would be massively successful. When you're doing dirt racing cars, and this has been my thing the entire time, even if this is a great lane, I'm still going to point to, how do googly-eyed cartoon cars make any sense in Frontierland, which is a lane that's supposed to be horse-drawn carriages? They may have had cars, but they were very early cars at that point. So I think from the theming standpoint, it's already a weird mix to me, which makes me think they know that, and there's going to be future changes in this area to make the Cars area seem more uniform, which and I'm not saying this will happen, I wouldn't be shocked if they actually end up getting rid of Frontierland. It wouldn't shock me at all.
Well, maybe it's not Frontierland. Maybe it's going to be Frontier Land.
Wouldn't
just...
There we go. There we go.
You just had to do it.
Like walking through Frontierland and hearing, wow, like Owen Wilson's voice in here, like, what is this area right now? Sorry, go ahead.
Wow.
Well, the interesting thing too is like we're seeing them do a smaller scale version of Cars Land in Magic Kingdom, right? Showcase is so funny. Big shout to Showcase, by the way. We love Showcase, but they're doing a smaller version of Cars Land in Magic Kingdom, right? And they're doing a slightly smaller version of Pandora in DCA. I think our Pandora is going to be like 8 or 9 acres. You guys have I think it's like 11 or 12, something like that. But anyway, long story short, it's interesting how they're sort of like changing the perception of these existing lands, and like they're not only are they kind of going in different directions with it, like we're getting Way of Water, you guys have the original movie, you're getting Piston Peak, we have the old school Radiator Springs. It's interesting how Disney's sort of playing and tinkering with these lands, both in size and story. So I wonder if, I don't know, I'm just kind of curious, like what else they might do going forward with other lands. And maybe we will get another Star Wars land, but it will be more of like a 7-acre thing. You know what I'm saying? And it'll be totally different. It seems like there's like a trend with them kind of playing with these bigger lands. So I don't know.
Well, we were supposed to get a smaller version of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Paris, but it didn't happen. So which is very kind of interesting. But yeah, Cars Land much smaller obviously than DCA's. It's one of the reasons why they opted for something other than Radiator Springs Racers and that attraction's speed, because as I said before, if you want to go fast, you're gonna need a lot of track, you're gonna need a lot of space, and or else the journey is 30 seconds long. So this is kind of the thing that you get into when planning out for attractions. So they went with kind of this off-roading thing, which elicits a different speed connotation than maybe racing. Okay, fair enough. And they're supposed to have another attraction for the kiddos, maybe like a flat ride of some kind. Not sure what's going on there. But certainly the emphasis is on Villains Land. That's probably the best idea. But the future of the West Side, I think, is certainly in flux. I think Liberty Square, its story doesn't quite work without the river anymore. Certainly Columbia Harbor House, that doesn't make sense if you don't have a river. next to it.
Right.
So there are problems. And look, I think Disney, when you're looking at Carousel of Progress, I think they certainly got to be looking at stuff like Hall of Presence, for example, and all of that. It might just be Haunted Mansion Town. I'm not sure. But I think they're looking at all of this stuff, and they're looking to reduce costs anywhere they possibly can. That includes Space Mountain in this case.
Well, look at if you take out Liberty Square, because Hall of Presidents, first off, it probably is somewhat, they're worried about protests over the years of anytime that changes. And then you have every 4 to 8 years, you got to change up those animatronics. That's going to cost you money. You clear that area out and then have Haunted Mansion area with the parlor right there. You're just making money at that point. So that's one reason why you could definitely see that. So, I mean, a lot of questions remain, of course, about a lot of the things they're doing. Talking about Tomorrowland itself, I also want to know if they're redoing Tomorrowland, do something with Tomorrowland Speedway, for God's sakes. It is just a go-kart track in the middle of Magic Kingdom, and it just, I don't understand why it is. They haven't, other than shortening it over the years, nothing else has really changed with it. So I would hope if they are doing this, which I'm not against this, because I think Space Mountain at this point, you got to do something with this. What is Tomorrowland? Like, figure that out. And then, this can be, I think also, if you're looking at more people coming on property, it's a really bad first impression when you walk into Tomorrowland. You have Stitch, which has not had a ride in there for like a decade.
Right.
And then Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor is just right there. And you're like, what is this place? And I think it's just it's become a catch-all for stuff, and it lost its identity because of that. And
well, Tomorrowland at Disneyland in a similar position, right? Carousel of Progress, that whole building just empty, just has been for years, and you just had to eat it, I guess. But there's some holes there, and obviously, a lot of it doesn't necessarily connotate the future. Fair enough. I'll ask you, OJ, actually, on this. So, Tomorrowland Speedway, I don't envision the company meaningfully investing in Tomorrowland Speedway because I don't know if it's part of the portfolio long term. I think for Disneyland, I think they are going to invest in it, as OC Register and a couple of articles have pointed out. They have an agreement with CARB, right? And they had to shut down that attraction at least by February of 2027 in order to facilitate this upgrade and getting clean energy vehicles out there. Sure, fine, whatever. I don't really see that coming to Magic Kingdom. But what say you? What do you think the plan there is for Tomorrowland Speedway? Because I just don't know where to quite put it myself.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. At Disneyland, we're kind of being forced into it because there's a California law with that. I forgot the end date exactly with the electric vehicles, right? So they're forced into updating our vehicles, our cars. They don't have to do that in Florida, because it's in Florida. So yeah, it's an interesting question though, Vash. Like, what do you do with it? Do you keep it? I mean, I personally, and I know a lot of fans push back at me when I say this, I'd get rid of both of them. I think it's an antiquated like old school, outdated kind of concept for boomers who were young. That, I don't think kids nowadays are way more sophisticated. A 9-year-old can pilot the Millennium Falcon right now.
But this whole thing is really worth it though for that ride. I mean,
that's true. That's fair. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think the taste of even kids it's more sophisticated now. I mean,
I will say my son loves Tomorrowland Speedway just because he can actually, and my daughter actually still likes it. I think kids still like it. It's just, it could be way better. Like, if you are going to keep this, like, I mean, electric vehicles make sense because they're quieter and they're not like, again, it doesn't smell like it just reminds me as a kid going to Branson, just smells like go-karts all over the place. So it's always been a sore spot in that land anyways. So, I mean, I feel like, though, if they are going in here and revamping this stuff, in many ways, maybe Disney's thinking to give everything a facelift whenever these new lands come on board for all these new people they plan on coming into the property, you got to look at Tomorrowland Speedway at some point, because that doesn't look great. If you've never been to Disney and you're like, what is this? And then you ride it. You're like, what even is this thing? I can't even steer it.
Well, there's a reason why Tomorrowland Speedway or Autopia, when you're looking at Disneyland, has stayed on Tomorrowland, near ever since the opening of both of these parks, actually. It's because when Disneyland opened, the top 3 attractions in the entire park were the Railroad, Peter Pan, Autopia. And Autopia was on that top 3 list, especially with kids, for many, many years. So it certainly has popularity right there. I think, I'm trying to think, Paris still has theirs. I think Tokyo get rid of theirs. I'm trying to think of.
I thought I remember Tokyo got rid of it, but I could be wrong. I don't really keep up to date with all the foreign parks.
Yeah, I try to, but things move and everything like that. But regardless, I think the company does like to have a ride like that. But I agree with you, Jared, and I agree with you, OG. It's like, does this necessarily represent the future? Now, I think, what is it? Green cars, maybe they help with that, maybe they don't, not sure, but can we get some show seats? Hey, if you want to go ahead and put technology somewhere, could we put it in Autopia? Could we put it in Tomorrowland Speedway? That'd be cool. Be cool to drive through some light tunnels or something. Just something really fun. Something that is a little bit better than maybe the Branson, Missouri go-karts, right? Something.
Well, here's the thing, too. I want to touch upon 2 different things. I think that maybe... And a lot of people are pushing back on me in the chat, which is totally cool. I even acknowledge it. I have an unpopular opinion when it comes to that. So, but here's the thing. Maybe there's a middle ground with Autopia and the Speedway. Maybe we don't get rid of them completely, but maybe we can, shrink that footprint just a tad. Like, at least I went out here in Disneyland when real estate is at a premium. Like, we don't have a lot of room out here. And Autopia takes up all that space, like between Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. Maybe we can shrink it down a little bit and we can get use part of it for like a Fantasyland expansion. So that might be the answer. Also, I wanted to bring this up because it's obviously a great post. Dinosaurs in space. You can't get more badass than that. But this is one of my biggest complaints actually with Cosmic Rewind, believe it or not. When they got rid of Universe of Energy, it's time travel. You had those dinosaurs, those animatronic dinosaurs in the Universe of Energy. You could have repurposed them into Cosmic Rewind, zipping by the era of the dinosaurs, the primeval world, like just for even like a second, bro. That would be so sick. But nope, they didn't do it. They should have.
The Imagineers actually commented and said that, like early on they were looking at incorporating maybe the dinosaurs into Cosmic Rewind in some way. Unfortunately, that never obviously went through. We didn't even get the animatronics that we were supposed to get for that ride. That's no good. Could have loved to have had the dinosaurs live a second life at Disneyland. That didn't happen either. So that's really sad. That's really most unfortunate right there. But I do remember hearing, you're going to love this, Disneyland OG. It's like, okay, can we reroute Autopia? Can we like incorporate it into something? Okay. There was an idea when the Atlantis project was moving its way through the pipeline at WDI. The Atlantis makeover for, what is now Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage, but the old Submarine Voyage at Disneyland. In that corner of the park, they were supposed to build, the idea was like a Volcania kind of thing, where you have, obviously Nemo's lair right in the center there. You have maybe an active volcano as part of that, maybe Mount Prometheus type that you see over there in Tokyo Disney Sea. Autopia was supposed to go through there. Was supposed to go through the mountain. The monorail was also supposed to weave in and out of the mountain as well. Obviously, it was going to sync up with Submarine Voyage and all of that. It was supposed to be a tremendous kind of a way of, okay, let's maintain these attractions, but incorporate them into our new story. You just don't hear that much anymore. It's always about, new land, and let's just isolate this from this, and don't interact with it at all, because we're trying to tell this particular story, and it's a shame.
Do you feel that that's changing a little bit though, Vash? To kind of circle back to like the Piston Peak thing.
Sure.
And even like Pandora at DCA, where it's like they're doing single land areas now, but I feel like they're like we're starting to see them make them smaller. Although maybe I'm contradicting myself because Villains Land's gonna be 1.5 billion acres, so I don't know.
I think it just depends on the project probably.
Villains Land's really big. Remember, the Muppets couldn't even live in Monsters Inc. You know what I'm saying? Like it's they're doing Lion King over there in Paris. They already did I think the third iteration of Frozen now. I think they're married to this kind of, oh, let's go ahead and be like Universal and provide this kind of immersive portal experience. I just don't think they do it as well, and I think there are long-term implications because of that. Go ahead, Jared.
No, I think that's a point I made before. I think Disney is basically, it's interesting because Disney's obviously the leader in all of this stuff, but they clearly have been taking their design stuff from Universal ever since the Wizarding Worlds and these IP heavy lands. And I think that is just, maybe it's just what audience expect now. Once they saw the Wizarding World, it's like, oh, we want more stuff like this. And so now you're seeing everybody do their own version. And so in many ways, I do think Disney has become very Universal-like in their approach to things. And they don't really, at least in my opinion, what we've seen, and maybe that could change, but I don't think they look at things as historical as they used to. It's all about like these new audience. I mean, same thing with movies and shows. It's all this, we got to get a new audience. We got to get new that. And so I think that's what will continue to be until there is another breakthrough in what theme parks do. And then that'll change. And maybe that'll go back to more of this, like having fun. Like, I think one thing you can say about theme parks now is like, I don't think they have as much fun as they used to designing this stuff. I think back in the day when they were doing this stuff, it was like, oh, we're going to wind through this land. It's going to be cool. It's a shout out. Now it's very much like, this is this land and that is that land. And they can't be seen together because that's going to break immersion and all this stuff. And I think it's just much more like black and white in terms of when they design this stuff and not as much of just like, well, like we talked about before, throw Michael Jackson into something, like have Captain EO come back, have some fun with it. It doesn't have to make sense. And I think they used to do that, but in a very charming way where it worked.
Yeah.
And
right.
Modern audiences don't like that though. I mean, it could be part of it. Maybe people just nowadays are just like, I don't want.
Oh, that's hokey.
I don't want it to mix with Mission Space or something because that would break the immersion that I'm in a theme park.
No chocolate in my peanut butter.
Exactly. No, but here's the thing. We're seeing that right now with Pandora and at DCA where people are getting funny about the monorail and stuff, right? But back in Walt's day, Walt Disney had the monorail circling the Swiss Alps. You didn't care.
Nope, didn't care.
I mean, he didn't. But by the way, Thrilla B real quick. I will be at D23 with Mr. Webba. A bunch of people are going to be there. A theme park conductor. So yeah, it'll be a good time. But Jared won't be in. Vash, you're not going either, right? If I'm not mistaken.
We'll be there in spirit, okay? We'll be there. Our presence will be felt some way there, but no, not in person at least.
I'm gonna pull up
not in person.
I'm gonna pull up my phone and I'm just gonna have these guys on FaceTime.
Fantastic. Do it. No, you're right. Look, Walt, remember, he wanted to go ahead and model his hometown, right, of Marceline, Missouri. Little Fort Collins, Colorado in there, but that's besides the point. At the end of Marceline, Missouri, is a freaking castle. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. That's the introduction to Disneyland or the Disney park experience right there. But it works, and I do agree with you, Jared. I think they used to have a little bit more fun there. Yep. I remember Tony Baxter. He gave a point of advice for his proteges or his the people that he was training, and he said, "Hey, listen, don't think about what the guest necessarily wants. Think about what you would want in terms of like being wowed, right? If it doesn't wow you, it's not going to wow the guest. Certainly not long term. Think about, the stuff that would really wow you or the stuff that you really wanted to go ahead and create and design. And that kind of philosophy, you kind of see that, right, with Disneyland Paris and a lot of the innovations of that second gen right there. Those were theme park fans designing for, theme park fans. And so I think they got a kick out of, like Indiana Jones? Yeah, let's go ahead and have the Jungle Cruise in there, the train right there, and let's go ahead and have this coaster, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. I wish a little bit of that could come back.
Yeah. Yes. Now, Jared, did you know that? Did you know that our Indiana Jones show building was going to have the Indiana Jones ride? The Jungle Cruise was going to go through there.
I did not know that.
There was a mine coaster that was going to go through there, and the Disneyland Railroad was going to go through that show building.
I love that. I think that would be great. I mean, and I just want to say real quick, we will get to some of those super chats. You guys have been very generous, so we will get to those right after we wrap this up. No, I didn't know that, but I agree. I think it would be I think it's an interesting design philosophy because you bring that up, Vash, about, and somebody, there's an article the other day, somebody was talking about old Hollywood, and they're talking about the new ways in which people have, and I can't remember who said it, but it was like they become too reliant on essentially like these test groups about what they want to see. There's an old adage that they would talk about, if you have really creative people, you don't necessarily have to give people what they're asking for, because the view used to be the guest doesn't really know what they want. We're going to give them something they're not even expecting, but it's done so well that people are like, oh my gosh, this blows me away. And I think now it is very much like, well, they see this, they want this, let's do this. And I do think that there does lose a little bit of that like whimsy in your creativity of like, and really to do that though requires taking chances. And I think of Disney is a great example of a company that does not want to take chances. They just want to do something that they think is going to hit. And so for them, it's like, well, what do the guests want? And then just give them what they want. Oh, go ahead.
Moana, live action.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. But I do want to say too. Now, look, I'm a Universal guy now. Okay, I love my Universal. I'm there all the time. I love Universal. But I will say this: Wizarding World, while an amazing land, amazing, and it changed the industry. A little bit of this trend with we need 14 acres for one IP. Is because of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Correct.
That was one negative thing that I think came out of that land was that Disney jumped right on that.
Well, look too about the lands, and then everything has maybe 2 or 3 rides. Where look at Fantasyland and Disney World. How many rides are in there? There's probably like 12 or something. So it's like you've got this template now that they work off of, and that's just kind of what they do. And I mean, I like the immersiveness of this stuff, but again, like we always say, not everything has to be an e-ticket attraction. Not everything has to be an IP land either. Like you can still have a little bit of this creative flair to things. I think that if you're going to pinpoint the one thing that has been really missing, I think in the Disney parks in particular in the past, I'd say the modern age of the last 10, 15 years, it's that. It's like that whimsy, creative, taking some chances here. Everything has to be tied to an IP. Like I'm not against IPs, but I also don't think you need to have the Tron Light Cycle Run be called Tron Light Cycle Run. Like I've never understood what you were getting out of that, because it's not like Tron was like Star Wars. So it's like you should have just called it Tomorrowland Light Cycle Run. That same ride and everything. It could have worked just fine.
I agree.
SEO is what's informing that decision right there.
100%.
Yeah.
Somebody who is well versed in that world, you can see it from a mile away when things are SEO. Like,
I'm actually kind of surprised they actually went through with Tron, because those movies have always struggled. I mean, the first one, became a cult classic. I understand that, but like this last one died a dog's death, didn't it? I don't think it did very well. Go ahead, Vash.
Well, Shanghai needed a Space Mountain of their own, right, for their Tomorrowland. Now, they got into a little bit of issues with Disneyland's version of Space Mountain in Hong Kong, because in Hong Kong, well, you don't just bring your kids, you bring grandma, you bring grandfather, and you go down there and you have some fun. And what happens when grandma or grandpa gets into the Space Mountain rocket, not knowing what kind of adventure that is? So Tron was in part, okay, one, they need an IP, because got to build everything with an IP nowadays. But two, its design feature where you actually see it in front of you, actually like you walk under it and all that. It's to give provide the impression for the guest what kind of experience this is, the Chinese audience. So and because they already did it once in Shanghai in 2016, now it's like, okay, well, just literally take it and build a second one. That's how we got Tron on. Ultimately, it's just it's a completely different market for a completely different time.
Yeah. One thing I will say, by the way, about this, and we'll wrap this up. If they do redo Space Mountain, does that mean the People Mover has to go down?
I don't think it does. Okay, so there's that interior portion right there. Yeah. That's gonna get pretty tough.
But they could block. I think they could block that off. Probably
it could
interfere too much.
They could block it off. So that's kind of what I'm saying. I think you could go forward with it. You have to be pretty careful in whatever shroud that you build has to be, you know, lawyer approved. But I think you could actually preserve that ride experience while this is taking place right here. But it's going to be, I mean, Disneyland, that was 2 years. Because they had to take the top off of it, and they had to like surgically remove all of the track.
Can opener up there is what they do to get that.
Yeah, exactly. The big WDI can opener, they have it, you know. But no, you can't do that with Walt Disney Worlds because it is literally a concrete. I mean, you're talking about what is it? 72, 74 ton beams. Around it right there. It's a huge concrete top. So it's going to take some time for them to do this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's down for 3 to 4 years, honestly. It took 2 years for Disneyland. So there you go.
Now, question for you fellas. Vash, you were talking about like a shroud, like a block, right? For the people mover to go through, right? To block the construction. Mm-hmm. Could we possibly like use like a laundry cord and have all of Bob Iger's cardigans just all the way down, you know?
Get all of his cardigans right there. I think that'd be appropriate. Also, too, hey, I heard that Universal, you know, has some glass screen tubes, you know, that they might need extra panels being manufactured for. Just bring on those over. And
sounds like a good idea. I like that.
We got it.
Now, if they're going to swing for the fences, they might announce a Space Mountain and a People Mover redo. Because People Mover might need a retrack at some point, but I don't know if they would do that. But I don't want to see it necessarily, but that would be a rough thing if People Mover and Space Mountain were down for
seat belts are coming if that's the case. Right.
Well, think about it, guys. Think about it, guys. Think about this, right? If they do a new People Mover, we can call it the Stark People Mover.
Oh, that's true. It would be IP. That's a
new People Mover on both coasts. Come on, let's do it.
Or hear me out. Have you guys ever thought about making it where it goes faster on People Mover?
LSMs.
Just, you know, I don't think you need to do any sort of engineering check on this. Just make it go really quick, but not around the corners, though. You know, listen, I don't know if they tried it or not, but, you know.
Well, we can call it the rocket rods.
Yeah, that could work.
I think that's perfect.
It'll be here for
50
years, and just going to cement the park for its legacy. I think it's a great idea. I don't know why they haven't done it yet.
Fantastic.
We'll see what they do. I feel like every time I say that, OG, just like you're just burying that hatchet more.
Oh man, I'm so mad. The worst part about our Tomorrowland isn't even. Well, I love the People Mover, but it's not even about losing the People Mover. It's about we're not going to care enough to remove the track.
Yeah, you just leave it there as a reminder of what was. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like rotting and there's like leaves in it. And it's like, come on, you guys. This is like the worst show ever. Like, if you're not going to do anything with it, then bulldoze it. But
there's hope. There's hope, OG. There's hope. 30 years. Come on. We can get it. We can get it back on there. Come on. It's just right there.
Do you understand that this thing has been down for as long as Theme Park Wizard has been alive? That is ridiculous. We lost our People Mover like, what was it, 30 years ago now, Ash? That's crazy.
1996.
That's crazy.
Dude, that is insane to me. And I just think it's nuts, man. But
that wall's catching up though outside of Tomorrowland. It really is. You know, it's what 7-8 years strong now. So
yeah,
I know. Maybe at the 50-year mark they'll bring it back or something. You never know, but we'll see what they do there. But do want to catch up on some of these super chats we got. We got some very generous people in the chat tonight. We got Juliet with a 2 sterling pounds and morning simulcast Vash CTM OG55 and chat. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
And Keegan Luca gifted 1 Orange Grove 55 membership. And
Thank you so much.
I'm very upset at the moment, but it's fine. I'm just kidding. We have Space Dave 2000 with a 2 Canadian, I believe. Said, love Space Mountain, but it needs some love. It does need some love. Yeah, especially the last time I rode it, because it had been a couple years, and I think my daughter wanted to ride it. I was like, we can do it. I don't think it's going to be better. And we got and it was way rougher than I even remembered. And I remembered it being very, very rough. And I was just like, I'm not doing that one again. Because that is a instant headache right there. Tough. Yeah. Julie Axelrod, I think I got that right. 1911 for a 2. Thank you, Julie. It says, give Space Mountain major love, but fast. I don't know if they'll do the fast part. I do think that would be very interesting of like what they predict the timeline would be, because I also get the idea from some of what we're seeing that like I've kind of assumed that a lot of this stuff is going to take longer than the timelines that they initially said, like Cars Land and Villains Land. If those things are already looking like they're going to take longer than they initially said, you could see Space Mountain take 3 to 4 years, because maybe by the time that's done is maybe when probably Tropical Americas will be open by then, but the stuff in Magic Kingdom, I don't think is going to be done in that time span, would be my guess. But I would happy to be wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong on this.
Yeah, I will say this, and we're going to get into it when we talk D23 and stuff, but like I will say this in terms of like New Tomorrowland stuff and just announcements in general. I made a tweet about this, and I think this is Walt Disney World's year. I think we're going to get more information for Walt Disney World than Disneyland Resort. I'm not saying that we're not going to get anything. We are going to get, I do believe we're going to get Coco stuff, Avengers, even Pandora. I do believe we will get details on these projects, but Walt Disney World is going to get the bulk share, because I think right now they're trying to flesh that resort out, because they understand with Universal coming in with Epic and all that. You can tell that there's a focus right now for Disney World. I think the following D23 will probably come back to Anaheim, though.
I was going to say, if you guys want to hold that for just a minute, because we're going to go right into D23. So that way we'll save the good comment, because I agree with what you're saying right there. But we just got a couple here, and then we'll get in there. And then I'm going to go tell my kids good night. So I'm going to segue into this. But cool. So we have a 2 here from Metalcore Breakdown. Thank you very much. Says, is there enough space behind Space Mountain to build a new one?
Oh.
It scoots up right against the road. Like when you're going back there, like when you cross the street from the Contemporary, I mean, you see Space Mountain right there, and I'm pretty sure it's right near a bunch of roadways there. So I don't think they have any space to go back there.
No, it's not Tokyo. They're not getting rid of that dome. I could
although
tell you right now, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, that construction is going to be very visible.
Yeah.
Whenever they do that, because you got all those views like Contemporary, Top of the World, like you're going to be able to see all that stuff whenever they're doing it, whatever they can show on Space Mountain. Yeah,
and I'll tell you guys this though. I'll tell you guys this. If they can build our Coco ride on a sidewalk, they can do anything.
Sidewalk.
It's kind of fun to do the impossible.
It is, Vash. Come on, right? Let's do it. Let's do it.
Or the worst thing is you can do the impossible. You took Space Mountain, which is a really bad ride that needs rehab, and you made it worse somehow. How did you do this? Which I hope that's not the case. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I don't know. I don't like to hedge my bets one way or the other too much, but it's always possible. But we also have another $9.99 from Julie. Thank you, Julie Axelrod. Says, is Disney changing the ride track with the change from Dino to Jones? Do we get a better ride or an updated overlay?
I haven't heard anything. We honestly don't have that much information about this new version of Indiana Jones. I'm also wondering too, I don't want to get everyone riled up, but I'm kind of concerned we're not going to get the boulder.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. Yeah. I mean, there is a place for it, but it's a possibility for sure. Because I mean, Disneyland's always had problems with it. It's 18 seconds, that scene, and that's literally the time of dispatch, so it sometimes doesn't reset appropriately. From what I understand, no changes to the ride track whatsoever. It's not listed in any of the permits, and the timeline that they're kind of working on suggests that it's going to be the same attraction.
Well, it's the same, isn't it the same ride track as your guys' Indiana Jones on Disneyland?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Very close.
Yeah,
and it was the best decision they ever made, because you guys, I'm telling you guys are going to love it. It is fantastic. Indiana Jones is the GOAT.
I'm excited for that ride. I am. I love Indiana Jones. I don't know how much it makes sense in Animal Kingdom, but we're probably well past that at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think we look at all this stuff. You know, I hope that these, like, if they are going to do Space Mountain, all these things, I hope they're good. And I suppose if they're going to keep it in the dark, your chances of messing that up, if it's smooth and it has pretty decent projections, I mean, for most people, they're going to be like, oh, this is better. And so I guess you could say the bar is kind of low on that, but never say never, I suppose, on there. But well, thank you guys very much for the super. Oh, we got a couple more super chats.
We got one more Wizard, and
yeah, we do. We got another $1.99 from Metalcore Breakdown. Says, please don't let Epcot Construction Co. Inc. work on Space Mountain.
Oh no, that's a good point right there.
Package off the performance of the in-ground lighting. So I mean,
Jared. Don't do that. Don't do that. This thing could still be crap. Stop it.
I feel like we could go to Lowe's and find a couple of old timers that could do in-ground lighting much better than what they did in Epcot. They'd just be like, oh yeah, to give us an afternoon, we'll get that taken care of.
Don't worry. I heard the original bid, the guys who were first commissioned to do that, they were like, no, your design doesn't make sense. It's not going to hold up. It's not going to last. And it's going to be bad for our reputation. So they found somebody to do it. Unfortunately, that first bid was right.
Yeah, unfortunately. And we also have a 5 from Theme Park Wizard. What's up, Wizard? It says, looking at the maps, there's plenty of space. There's a pond and a railroad. So if they wanted to, they can easily put a new building behind it. But I don't think you mess with the icon. I just, it's so iconic, that building itself. I just don't think you touch it.
They're not going to touch it. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to touch it. It's so much concrete. There's no way. And just because there is land doesn't mean it's buildable land. That's the thing about that's the thing about Florida, is that, you might see, oh yeah, look, our acres and acres. What are you going to do? It's like, yeah, try building on it, and then let's see how that goes. No, they're going to use the original building. Disney can't help themselves. Look at what they did with Great Movie Ride or even Ellen's Energy Adventure. They're gonna use the same building.
A cost standpoint, it's cheaper to maintain the same building than build a new one.
Of course.
Oh yeah. Well, and I would also I would point to the fact. Oh, I had a point and then it went away. I hate when my brain does that.
I hate that.
It'll come back to me at some point. It was something about this that I was going to mention, and it made a lot of sense. And now it's
let me ask you guys this. Maybe it'll come back. But let me ask you guys this real quick, and then I know we got to pivot. Do you think, and this is hypothetical because they literally can't do it because Tokyo has that 5-year clause or whatever, but do you guys think that if they announce we are going to bulldoze it and we're going to give you the Tokyo version, do you think fans would be okay with that? Or is that a bridge too far
I think at this point, with as much stuff like that list Vash said, I think people would be pissed because it's yet another thing that what people remember is just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not picking on a Wizard, by the way. I just want to be clear. I'm just, we're just talking shop.
I'm picking on him for his VillainCon take, but not this one necessarily.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point right there. No, Wizard. No, there might be land. It's just because it's available tells me, especially by Magic Kingdom, might not be usable. So that's kind of my instinct right there. But you're very, very good. VillainCon. No, it's I just Tokyo is spending well over $700 million on that Space Mountain Earthrise ride. It's going to be, I think, the most expensive ride that Disney's ever built. At that point, it's just, I don't see the company doing that. Not right now.
I agree. Well, I remember
a little bit cost conscious right now.
They have always wanted to build another resort around where the TTC is. They can't because of the soil. They test it every year to see if it's at some point it probably will be, but there's a lot of land around Disney World that is not feasible to build on.
There's 4 to 5 hotels that have been thought of for that area around Seven Seas Lagoon. Just never just can never build them because it's just not usable. And to build in that area, you can. It's just cost prohibitively expensive. So why would you necessarily occupy, that real estate when there's so many other parcels to use? Right. Yeah. And Wizard said he's going to take us 3 on VillainCon. Listen, you can take us on VillainCon. We can have a real showdown on Toy Story Mania. I'm just saying. I'm pretty decent. So we'll see. And I'll practice a little bit. But all right, let's move on and talk about, our next one here I think is very interesting, which is we got D23 coming up. And obviously, every 2 years, the main one here, every 2 years, a lot of people are expecting a lot of announcements. At least that's what the fans want. And OG, we already kind of talked to this a little bit, but obviously there's some speculation out there. Maybe there's a Space Mountain announcement. You do have a parks panel. What's interesting, you guys, I'll let you guys go into, there was going to be a Figment panel. Seems like maybe that one's not happening because I think that may be, they don't want people alluding to the fact that Figment is going to get a redo, which I suppose is possible, but that's something people have been wanting for a long time, which I would say is another one on the list of things that they could refurb in their little refurb madness they're in right now. Refurb madness. That'd be a good one. So
what do you guys think about D23? What are your expectations? What do you think we're going to get? And then I'm going to tell my kids goodnight, and I will hop back into the conversation when I return.
There we go. Jared will be right back. So, okay. Like I said earlier, I do believe this is going to be the year for Walt Disney World. I do believe they're going to get the lion's share of these announcements. In terms of even just maybe not even new stuff. I just think even with just details of the current stuff, I think it's going to be Disney World's year. You know, Disneyland Resort, I do think they're going to flesh some stuff out. I think we will get Pandora news. I've heard from so many sources this thing was not been canceled. I know Jim Shaw, did the Zootopia thing, which is cool, but he admitted that was his own like armchair Imagineering. Sure. I think people kind of ran with that because it's a former Imagineer. I'm hearing that this thing is actually happening. I do believe we will get news on that, but it won't be a whole lot. Just enough for Disney to be like, nope, it's not Zootopia. Here's a couple of things, right? Basically. Go ahead, Beth.
Go ahead, please. Well, no, I to that point, right? It's probably going to be like what? Maybe, a piece of concept art for Pandora, just to tell people, hey, it's still happening, maybe additional stuff on that boat ride. But I don't really see anything past that. I think Coco, we might get a little bit more substantiation on what that's going to be, what it's going to look like right there, but not much. I think the emphasis really, and they're already doing it right now, it's going to be on the Avengers, it's going to be on Marvel. That's going to be the big thing for Disneyland. It's going to be, not Stark Flight Lab. There's a little package there for you too, if you want to play that at all. But the Avengers campus, like that Infinity Defense attraction. Remember, was that Josh's? Well, that was one of his first, right? That when he was chairman, that he announced that thing was coming. And it's just been so long since that point right there. So I think they really want to bring the goods when it comes to Infinity Defense. I think it's the closest to like opening. So I think that they're going to really highlight that, at least at Disneyland. We're so far away, really, of them really kicking off Disneyland Forward. I think I don't really quite expect much of anything. It is kind of interesting, though. Disneyland certainly left out of this. I would think if they bring something for Disneyland, just to balance it out a little bit.
I agree. No, I agree with you. Here's the thing on 2 points. Disneyland Forward, you're right. We're not going to get anything. They're going to have to wait like another 4 or 5 years to give us the Westcott, which is fine. I'll wait. No worries. but no, I'm just kidding. But no, in all seriousness, though, you're right. Disneyland Forward, we're not going to get much on that. But I will say this. I do think we will get details on that Eastern Gateway. I do believe maybe we'll get some new artwork for the bridge and all that stuff. I think that's definitely a possibility. Yeah. But we're not going to get anything in terms of like building on the Symbol lot or the Toy Story lot or anything like that. That's not happening this time around.
Dan Peterson, by the way, bringing up a good point. Autopia update. Vixen actually said this. She's like, hey, I think they're going to put that prototype car that they've been working on for Autopia at D23 Expo and have people sitting in it and all that. That I think is coming. So Dan, it's good call on that one.
Well, and also to your Disneyland point, Vash, like I don't think what's going on, Candy Camper? It's good to see you, brother. To your Disneyland point, I don't think we're gonna get a ride. I don't think we're gonna get a new land. What I do think we will get, though, the most likely scenario for Disneyland is entertainment stuff. So maybe they'll give us an update on the Dragon for Fantasmic. That would be cool. Ooh. Right? I could see that. That's a smaller thing, but it's kind of a big thing too in a way. I can see I could see a new fireworks show, maybe a new parade or something. So those are the kind of announcements I'm kind of expecting for Disneyland Park.
They announced Wondrous Journeys, actually. Maybe not announced, but they showcased like the music for it. I think at a D23. I think it was in preparation for the 100th anniversary of the company. Coincide with that and did that. So I think you're right. We could get some entertainment and stuff. I'd love to get a little bit more clarity on what the future of Tomorrowland is. Not to say that they're going to actually do something about it, but because Tomorrowland, this plan they'll build tomorrow. But Disneyland's Tomorrowland did feature that new paint scheme for Buzz Lightyear. And it's kind of like, okay, well, is this the direction that we're going in? Do we have a plan here? It would be cool to get some information on that. Certainly Walt Disney World. So I'd love to know, like, this kind of piecemeal nature of this new Tomorrowland that you're actually getting, Jared. if there are any more details relating to that. But I do agree with OG. It's going to be Walt Disney World's year. It's going to be, maybe a new Space Mountain, but certainly a lot of updates that we are all kind of looking with keen interest, with great interest, actually. Villains Land, Cars Land, all of that, which is a big emphasis for the entire company, actually.
Well, they're going to have to have an update on Villains Land because of that rap article, I think. If they want to put to bed those rumors, they're going to... Now, they may not have a lot to show, but I think they may kind of set in concrete, maybe they announce maybe some of the rides, but I think they're going to try it. If that isn't true, which I know Drew, the Disney dude, said that those plans have been set in stone, then they're going to want to set that straight. I think you probably get a pretty massive update about Tropical Americas, because that's the soonest one that is coming online. Probably Monstropolis at some level. I think you do get some updates, but I think the most of them are going to be the ones that open the soonest. And then I think there's a pretty good chance for Disney World you do see the Space Mountain redo thing that gets announced there. And I guess if you're hopeful, Figment, because there have been rumblings about that, but I get the impression that Figment is not high up on the list if I were to guess.
Yeah, and actually this is courtesy of Vixen, and this is very interesting. It looks like Disney has removed and deleted the original D23 schedule post and re-released it without the characters. Figment, Oswald, and Sorcerer and Mickey no longer appear, which is very interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think? And everyone in the chat, I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts. I feel like there was a lot of chatter on social media about possibly Figment coming.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like they removed Figment to sort of set the expectation like, hey, maybe not? Now, the only thing that's making me think maybe that isn't the case is Oswald and Mickey was also removed. So I don't know. I didn't hear any rumors or rumblings about those two, but they still removed them.
I mean, when you're talking about a bigger corporation, it could be a head fake because maybe they do have a Figment announcement and they're like, oh, we don't want to hedge it too much. Or it could be some sort of weird thing where it wasn't supposed to be in there and it just got changed. Like sometimes you can really read into this stuff a lot. And then sometimes in the corporate world, they're like, oh, yeah, we didn't even think about that. For instance, I would bring up WandaVision when they were like, oh, the big bad guy is going to be, what's his face? The devil. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The chat will know. They'll probably say it here in a second. But when they asked the writer about it, he didn't even know the character existed. So I think many times, like the fans many times can look in between the lines, and the corporate world is very just like, oh, yeah, we weren't even thinking about that. So it could be something like that, too.
Yeah, it's possible. What do you think, Bash?
Well, they could be looking at social media traffic as well, attached to some of these updates and saying, ooh, there's a lot of emphasis on Figment. Why is that? Oh, because we put them on there. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of them because we're not doing anything. It could be as simple as that right there. Or, hey, look, another meet and greet. No, I'm joking. Sorry. To D23 if you're there. Do I think that Figment eventually gets some treatment? Sure. But it's just, I think there are a lot of priorities right now with the company. And I think from the company's perspective, it's like, yeah, we did Epcot. No, thank you.
Well, that's probably one thing that would limit that is Epcot just got its overhaul. So that probably could be one reason. Though I will say, if you're swinging for the fences, Space Mountain, or no, excuse me, Spaceship Earth, all this space talk. Spaceship Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Is one that I could see being something as a sneaky, because that was supposed to happen in 2019. So they probably have the plans for it. And if you're talking about, if you're wanting to really refurb things that people first come in contact with, Spaceship Earth is the first thing you see when you enter Epcot. And
we will refurb and redo every single attraction that you love dearly, and you might not feel it needs an update before we get to the attractions that you have been waiting for an update all this time. Go ahead.
And I know I feel like that could be exactly what happens. People have been screaming for Figment for years, and they're like, how about Space Mountain? How about Spaceship Earth? How about, and then eventually you do get to it, but I could see like Figment is deep into Epcot in an area of Epcot that I don't think they're that concerned with at this point versus Spaceship Earth, which is the first thing you see.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want them to touch it, but I think they very well could.
Yeah. Figment. I'm a Californian, so I have zero emotional connection to Figment, but he looks like a Wuzzle to me. I don't know if you guys remember the Wuzzles. I mean, if you're under 30, you probably don't, but he looks like a wuzzle to me, 100%. But aside from that, though, like Spaceship Earth, when we were at Disney World 3 years ago, Vash, I loved the hell out of that ride. Like,
that's awesome,
dude. That is amazing because that is the most unique dark ride I've ever been on. I just loved it, and it does need an updating. I think you could utilize some new technology and all that in there, for sure.
If anything, the final scene when you're up there, the one thing I did like about when they were going to redo it is they're going to have these projections up there, because then when you're at the end up at the top, it's just, I don't know, you do see Earth.
It's lacking.
It's very underwhelming when you're up there. So even just putting projections on that would make a big difference. But and by the way, it was Rogue Attraction. It was Mephisto. That's what I was thinking of for WandaVision. Yeah, it was like they were like, "Oh, it's Mephisto," and they're like, "We don't." Oh, I didn't even know who Mephisto was. You're like, "Are you kidding me right now?" But I think many times that happens in the theme park space as well, where the fans are really looking at this stuff and reading between the lines, and the corporate people are just like, "Oh, we didn't even think about that." Oh, okay, like they're not looking at it the same way as the fans are.
Yeah. Can we bring the mist back, though? Can we bring this mist back, please?
I want Josh to come out like a pre-game like wrestling intro where he's got sparks and he's just all like, he's pounding his chest. You're just like, oh man. Oh, by the way, did you guys mention that what's his face? Neil Patrick Harris is hosting this and not Thomas Maslin.
See, and that's interesting because here's the thing. Now, Matt, I haven't really heard a lot of Thomas. So I don't want to like jump to conclusions here too much. I don't know. He doesn't seem electric. I'll just say that. And so that could be part of it, but it also could be because I did hear he has a pretty heavy accent, I believe. And maybe that's
we were at Disney in the hotel the other day, and my kids wanted to watch The Making of the Wish because that's the cruise we're taking this fall. And he was in it. I was like, oh, I actually started watching because I saw him and I was like, oh, this is kind of, and actually watching them make ships. I felt very safe knowing an autistic German man designed that ship. I was like, I feel very safe. As this guy designing it was just like, they fit like this. And I was just like, I trust that guy. But Thomas Maslin did talk, and I don't think English is his first language. So whenever they said, go ahead.
So he's Austrian. So by
like Arnold?
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think that's his background right there. Because of that, he's more of an international guy. That's why he's chairman of the parks right now, because the international footprint, the international presence, big deal. Also, too, cruise line. Like, that's why he's in that position. So he's not necessarily the guy to get in front of people, and I think the company kind of recognizes that, which is why Neil Patrick Harris is coming out. You gotta understand, Josh Giamaro, he's I thought Bob Iger was big about how he presented himself and how the company presented itself and everything. But like Josh Giamaro takes that to an insane level and degree. So if they have Neil Patrick Harris on, that's what they're going to do. Also, too, like, Bob Iger, not really a parks guy, not doing the parks panel. But Josh Giamaro, he is. So more appropriate to have him be involved. Good.
Well, DeMauro was a rare breed of like, he could carry something like that with his presence and what he's able to do. That's not what you're going to have in every chairman. Even like you were saying, Bob Iger couldn't even if Bob Iger was headlining a D23, it'd be a snooze fest. So it's a very rare thing to actually have an executive could probably do this, to be able to carry an actual expo event.
Bob Iger did the Legend ceremony, I do believe, one year. It was a little awkward. Like, it was a little like,
because he's an awkward dude. Bob Iger is an awkward dude. I think he's just weird. Now, I'm all for Thomas Maslin if he talks like Arnold. I would pay to see that, where he's just up there like, welcome to D23. Okay, is what we have, Space Mountain. And you're just like, oh, I'm in.
Yes, I love it. Well, and to be fair to Bob Iger, I think that Bob loosens up when he's with his own tax bracket. So
very much so.
That's true. Yeah.
when he's brunch at Jeffrey's in Malibu.
Oh yeah, he's the talk of the table at that point. Yeah, he feels really loose.
Yeah, 100%.
And obviously,
he's
Bob
not about the pores.
was not a crowd pleaser at those either. So I think.
Oh.
So,
well, and Josh might know that, right? He might know that history and go, okay, let's not have that happen again, right?
Right. Yeah. You know what? The last thing you want is Maslin up there and he just had deer in a headlight of like, oh, I'm up on stage here. But I just think I wasn't shocked to hear that. And some people were reading way into this. They were just like, well, there's no, if they're got Neil Patrick Harris, it means these announcements X, Y, and Z. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think basically Josh
I love him.
Well, and like he's a huge Disney fan. Josh isn't going to do this now because he's the CEO. So, your parks guy, if he's it should not, I agree. It shouldn't be a prerequisite for your parks chairman that he has to also be a good MC. So you're going to have some that are and some that aren't. And so you bring in somebody else that can just, run in between segments, basically.
They do use video footage from these announcements in various shareholders presentations and press and stuff like that. So I think the company does kind of want to announce these things on the best foot possible with some celebrity cachet to get that social media traffic right there, to get that press and to make the company, look the best it possibly can, right? Because they understand, the history with Shapeback and everything else. I think they're kind of doing that. And it is remarkable how much of that social media presence, that kind of clicky nature, is driving so many decisions, especially WDI. Really interesting stuff.
Bash, that was why I heard they didn't change the Mickey fun wheel when they did Pixar Pier. The whole pier is Pixar. They kept Mickey because, from what I'm hearing, that is one of the most Instagrammed spots in the world.
Absolutely.
It's everywhere. Now, real quick, guys, I just want to share this because this is interesting. Epcots, 2 Epcots, right? There's rumors, pretty heavy rumors, that Shanghai Disneyland is getting a second gate, and I'm hearing it might be an Epcot style park. Have you been hearing that too, Vash?
I've been seeing that. I haven't necessarily been hearing that.
What do you think?
I don't. To me, I don't know if China wants to necessarily place host to the world, like gateway to the world kind of thing. To me, it just doesn't sound like they're interested in all of that. They seem to be very interested in their own culture, not showcasing others. So I don't know if they're entering in that equation right there. Hey, it might be a new China. It might be to say, hey, you know what? We can do what America did back in the 1980s with Epcot ourselves, right? It's possible. But I'm not really... The problem with Epcot is that there are so many issues with it, and the company has continuously tried to overcome them over the years. I don't really see them doing something like that again. I think it's going to be another grab bag park, but that's just me.
Well, we talked about on a live stream one time, Bash. Isn't there some issues Disney was having with China? They haven't been that happy with them recently, too, and maybe some of these investments there are just very much like the minimum they are obligated to do due to that situation.
Yeah, I mean, when you have China going out there and threatening, that they're not going to release Toy Story 5 in their country. Pete Docter, has a meeting with the Dalai Lama. That's it's just another headache that you have to incur when doing business with this country right here. So I think they're happy about the performance with Shanghai. I don't think they're over the moon about it, but I think they're happy with it. And in terms of investments, I think they're okay with a steady stream and not going crazy with it. Maybe because of those issues.
Yeah.
And Dan's life is trying to trigger me, Jared. Do you guys think there's any chance we'll get Westcott? You know what? If they're smart, they would do that. Out here in California, that drink around the world stuff would be up, dude. The Magic Key holders would go nuts for that. And it would be a great spot for festivals. I don't know the market in China well enough to really say it would work over there or not. But I do think out here in California to have that world showcase, obviously it wouldn't be the same version of Westcott. You would have a lot of IP in there. You would have, Raya the Last Dragon in Asia, and you would have,
you do the original vision of that thing with that 300-foot spaceship Earth. I want what the concept arts. That thing looked like the Halo ship landed in that land. I want all of that.
Come on, make it happen, Disney. Make it happen.
Oh man,
I want them to launch rockets and be like, we can see this from space. And you're like, yes, that's what you want. And a theme park land is a marker you can see from orbit.
I would just say, you know, when it comes to the company's current direction, look at the kind of stuff they're building right now. Look at Paris, right? It's like, you know, like 3 lands, you know, and they're all kind of isolated and they're all kind of contained. We saw that with Hong Kong, actually, not too long ago, when it expanded meaningfully its park around its berm right there. I think it was what, Toy Story Land. The, you know, the Adventureland Haunted Mansion. Oh, can't think of it right now.
Mystic Manor.
Hong Kong Design.
Oh no,
Mystic Manor. Right, and then Mystic Manor. And right next door you had that kind of, you know, bear thing right there. So it's kind of like they like building, you know, portals almost like an epic universe to compare. And they like, you know, these individual IPs and stuff like that. I just don't know if an Epcot today fits within the framework, the rubric that the company is currently working with.
That's a fair point. And Storybook brings up an interesting point too, because if we're talking D23, we gotta talk cruise lines. And there's rumblings they might start coming out, start operating out of New York. I've heard too that Disney wants to do more West Coast stuff. They're gonna have to do this if they're gonna have a bigger fleet. They can't all be Florida. Like, so yeah, Storybook. They're gonna have New York. They're gonna do more West Coast stuff. It's gonna happen, in my opinion, and probably other ports too. Go ahead, Vash.
To talk about that a little bit more, OG, you might not know this, but there has been a number of countries worldwide that have limited operations of cruise line because the cruise line industry has just exploded. There have been a number of countries like France, Italy, Germany, who have all put restrictions on how many cruise lines actually visit them per year, some of them per day, and all of that. So, like, the ports that you can actually travel to are actually dwindling. They're not expanding, even though, you know, everybody's getting into the cruise line game and they're expanding their fleets. So it wouldn't surprise me, OG, that, you know, some of that stuff comes back a little bit domestic in terms of itinerary and all that, because it you know, various countries are regulating this. Alaska. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. The cruise line is a gem of the Walt Disney Company, by the way. I love the cruise line. So I don't know.
I was going to tell you guys, I got a sneak peek at what Josh is going to look like when he enters D23.
Oh,
that's how he's going in.
Yeah.
He's going in hot. He's the revelator.
That's fantastic.
It's not too bad.
Really
I got the idea here because Steve, my Rick, said Diamaro comes out with pyro sparks flying and music a la Goldberg. I'm like, hey, you know what? He could do it. I think Josh might do it. You never know. So maybe I'm going to send this to Josh and be like, this is how you need to enter the D23 presence here, is come out in your sequin robe. Maybe that had to be his thing. Sequin robes. Bob has the cardigans. You know, Josh sets a little different tone. But
wow. I think I have an audio for this.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine.
I mean, if that's how they're starting it, I'm hyped already. I'd be like, whatever they announce, I'm in. Like, I might rethink this later after I actually think about the announcements, but I would get caught up in it. I'd be all on board.
That would be sick. That was one thing. Oh my gosh, you guys, that was one thing. Last D23, they had this like Alice in Wonderland, like Mad Tea Party, like cover band or whatever. They performed before the parks panel, and the first song I was like, okay, cool. They performed like a whole set, dude. There was like 6-7 songs. Remember that, Vash?
Oh, I remember.
Oh
okay,
God.
So all right, so this is the one time on that park place where I was late, okay? I was late getting to the stream. I was just too tired, I suppose. But I said, okay, have I missed anything? Because I saw the start time, and I'm like way late. And I'm like, oh, man, there's got to be 50,000 announcements that I've missed right there. And thankfully, because they just went on and on, didn't start, I didn't miss a thing. So I do remember that, but from a different vantage point.
I remember everything was backloaded at that. It was like it kept going on and on. I'm like, what? And then at the very end, it was like boom, 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 boom. You know, I was like, why didn't you do this an hour ago? Like I could have done without the random, like Deadpool and all these random things they kept doing. I was just like, just get to the point here. Like, announce the thing. This is what people want here. But we also have $1.99 here from Metalcore Breakdown. So Spaceship Earth featuring Moana, LOL prank for Figment.
Oh,
That's what it was gonna feature.
Yeah. The Rock just sits there and just sings a song to you as you walk in or something. We joke, but I wouldn't
You're
be shocked.
welcome.
Oh man, I hate that song. Even in the original, I hated that song.
Thank the Phoenicians. You're welcome. It works out.
It does work. And then you get a whole Polynesian history with the Rock in there. It's gonna be like living with the land with the Rock, just going through Polynesia. Like, what are we doing right now? Like,
Hey, it's better than Josh Gad though. Better than Josh Gad.
oh, listen. When they said Neil Patrick Harris, like, thank God it's not Josh Gad, because I would, if I was doing a stream, which I might do if there's a good stream, I couldn't get through a stream with Josh Gad. I would get demonetized immediately with the words I would say about that guy. I can't stand him. I literally cannot stand him.
When I was cutting up the Space Mountain footage, they had like this special for the 50th anniversary of Space Mountain. Pretty cool. Josh Gad's right in the middle of that. I just, listened just for a little while, and I was like, why did they push this guy everywhere for like 5 years? It's just so ridiculous.
He's really kind of the worst, but Kiki and Luca, I want to thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Cover band was badass. You know what? It's not that the band was even bad. It's just that I'm in the Honda Center and I'm like anxious because I want to hear what they have to say, and to sit through that was like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? Any other environment would have been fine.
Yeah, it's like a stand-up comedy routine in a corporate event. It's not that the guy's not funny. It's just the wrong setting, the wrong venue for that. Like, that's not why people are there. So you get the best band in the world, but they're just like, okay, get to the stuff we're here for. So they're not tuned into what you're doing.
And they had musical segments like every 15 minutes or something. I mean, it was just like, oh, God, come on, because we're watching on the sidelines. Like, obviously, there's no live stream at this time. So as soon as an update comes in, another song, it's like, okay, well, now we got to wait 5 minutes, Yeah,
it's insane. I do have beef with Olaf. That's true. And I know, Mike's here said, well, I didn't know Josh Gad drew such emotion. When you're being manipulated into trying to, like, they're trying to tell you that this guy's likable and talented. And I'm sitting there going, he's not. He's not. I don't know why. Like, there's certain celebrities I get why they're popular. You're like, maybe I don't like them, but like, they're talented. With Josh Gad, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. The funniest thing he ever did was New Girl when he was Bear Claw. That was the funniest thing he ever did, and I don't think he even wrote that. So I'm not saying he can't be funny, but I just don't like when Josh Gad's a Jungle Cruise. I'm like, I'd get off. If I was getting on that boat and Josh Gad's the captain, I'd be like, peace. And I'd be done. I'd be like, I'm out of here. I can't do this.
Can I have another skipper, please?
Yes.
Request
and here's the thing. I love Frozen. I'm probably gonna have to turn in my man card after saying that, but I do love Frozen. I like that franchise, but he is the worst part of the whole movie. I don't like his voice. I find it screechy, kind of annoying. I don't know.
It's like that thing of like, I forget, it was Step Brothers. He's like, I just want to. You got a very punchable face. And you guys like, what can I do about it? He's like, there's nothing you can do. I just want to punch you in the face. Like, it's nothing that Josh Gad maybe did. He was thrust upon us, but it's just like, no, I don't understand it. I don't get it. But
yeah.
I don't
know. And for a period of time, he was in Frozen, then doing the sequel, then LeFou for Beauty and the Beast, and then he was doing a whole bunch of park stuff because they were doing Jungle Cruise and all of that. It's like, dude,
I know.
Come on, guys.
And then I heard Spaceballs 2, and I was excited. And then I heard Josh Gad. It was the one writing it. And I was like, well, this is terrible. I'm hoping it's good, but I'm not having a lot of hope that it's going to be good with Josh Gad writing it. But
hey, Tones is gonna drive down to Southern California and pick up my man card.
I mean, I would say if I had to watch Frozen so much, and I have a daughter, so I feel like I have like I've got an easy out. But I can't say I ever. Yeah. I think Frozen 2 was enjoyable more than people thought, but I still contend the best princess movie ever is Tangled. I have no problem. My kids want to watch Tangled. Tangled's great.
Yeah,
love Tangled.
I agree.
Tangled's it's a good movie, and we're going to be talking about that, I think, a little bit here.
We will.
Bring up live action.
We are, yeah. And Tones asks here, are you guys going to be reacting to the Q3 financial results? We will. When are those? When are
August
5th.
5th.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve Ash. I always do a show with like Seymour on that stuff. So on my channel, I'm definitely going to react to it. I love that stuff. I think it's great.
Okay, that's on a Wednesday. So maybe we move theme park into that Wednesday to be able to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Maybe. Jared,
That's
you're coming on Bash Guy Podcast.
All right, we will be there. Anytime. I'm like the bat. I got the bat phone there. If it calls, I'm there. I was there last night. I hopped on Wizard and we talked about conspiracies for the past. We tried to get out there for like 20 minutes, and we just kept OG and I just kept bringing up more conspiracies. So I don't.
Oh, we were talking about like the moon. We were talking about like rappers.
It's weird. And did you guys know they've dropped stuff on it as like a sound test, and it's hollow?
Dude, that's wild.
Like it's
That
weird.
is-
They dropped one of the lunar things they dropped, and they said it rang like a bell, and they were like, "That's weird." Oh, and rap battles, that's true. And then they dropped one even further, and they said it literally rang like a bell for like, I think it was like 8 hours after that. So like Earth is dense, so when you drop something, it doesn't do that. So the whole thinking there is the inside of the moon is hollow. I was like, that's insane.
That is really, really bizarre. That is really weird. But I do believe there is a lot that they do hide from us.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when it comes to like, you know, aliens, all that stuff, and like what they find, because, you know, I mean, it might not even be like anything sinister. It might just be kind of like Disclosure Day, where it's like we're afraid of what the public would do.
I think that's a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think so. We'll get off this topic here soon. One of these days, we'll do a whole stream and just talk about this stuff because I could go on this forever. But
Rudio says, Vash, pull the yellow tab. This is going to be a ride.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Right,
Well, the one thing I will say, if you look at the Roswell crash, there's a really probably strong evidence that was not UFOs, that was actually aircraft that we had. But the reason they covered it up was because it was German after World War II. And they did not want the public knowing about Project Paperclip. I think that's a lot of the reason for that.
It's interesting that you bring that up because, well, if you remember my channel, we did a whole episode about Disney possibly doing another Tomorrowland special, but featuring aliens, UFOs, everything like that. Ward Kimball, Walt Disney, they were both on board, and they were this close to actually doing it. Why they didn't is really interesting. You got to check out that show.
You definitely check that out. Yeah. No, I think there's some weird stuff out there for sure. So I love this topic of stuff. And mind you, a lot of this stuff I talk about, I don't necessarily believe it. I just think it's fun. Like just sit there and look at it because I just think there's so many different than like all the weird things that we have come to accept now in our modern age. I'm like, you're telling me that's not possible, that we had German air tech and they were just like, oh, oops, we don't even know about this. It was aliens. Because that made more sense to them than saying it was the Germans. They're like, no, it was aliens and we recovered them. They're fine. But
well, I mean, even like, and this is the last point, I promise. But even
that last night after about 20 minutes.
I know, right? Who built the pyramids, Jared? Who built them? We got to know. We got to get to the bottom of this. We have to find out.
That's a good point. My pet theory is the Egyptians didn't build them; they found them, and they don't know who built them.
Well, that's what I remember you telling me about that, and I'm that's interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what actually happened,
because there's nothing that shows how they built it.
Right?
Like there's nothing in their hieroglyphs, and also if you look at a lot of stuff, even in Egypt, all these places. The later the stuff, the newer stuff they built was worse than the original stuff, which meant they probably whoever built the original was not involved in the newer stuff, and they were trying to replicate it, and they couldn't quite do it.
Well, and didn't they have like the hieroglyphics, the paintings on the wall and stuff? Didn't some of those have like pictures with like them holding like technology?
They did. There's some interesting stuff about. There's speculation of what it was, but also if you look through, and this will be the last thing, handbags throughout history. There's always these people with handbags on these writings in the cave walls and stuff, and you're like, what is that?
Interesting.
What did they have in their bag?
You know, they also said that Moana was actually going to make its money back.
Bash, come on. Let's not get crazy here, okay?
Let's not get insane here, okay?
That's true. That's a good
point.
It's
one thing to say the pyramids were built by an ancient, civilization. It's another thing to say that Moana was going to make a lot of money out of the live action. Before we get there, we do have a couple super chats, though. We do have Metalcore Breakdown for $1.99. Says a new adult-only DCL ship, Epcot of the Seas. that would probably sell out.
Yeah.
If it was just a drinking cruise with a Disney adults, it would sell out.
Absolutely.
Like right away. And then we also I had a new member here, Rababa Snake 1. Thank you for becoming a member over here. So, all right, let's get into our next topic, which is a lovely, which I'm not even going to bring up a article on this because we kind of know this already, but Moana live action remake not doing well at the box office. I think the number officially that it has made, it's estimated it's going to lose at least $100 million in the theaters. I think currently, let's see, it opened far below expectations with $43 million in North America, $95 million globally. And it cost at least probably more than this, but they're listing it at $250 million to make and $120 million to promote it. And it's not doing well at all, which again, outside of Lilo and Stitch, you had Snow White and you've had now Moana live action they're going to end up losing a lot of money. What do you guys think about the future? Oh, there's The Rock right there. Can't stand that guy. I used to love The Rock. I used to love the guy. What do you guys think the future of live action remakes are? Or do you even think there's a future?
I think that like a lot of people have been asking this question lately, and I don't like these remakes to be 100% upfront. I don't like them. I think enough of them do really, really well that they're still going to do them. It was just last year that Lilo and Stitch made $1 billion. So yeah, this flopped, but they're looking at Tangled going, maybe that will be the next $1 billion one. I just don't think enough of them are flopping that will really move the needle. That's just my opinion. I wish I was wrong because I hate these cash grabs. I hate them, but I don't think they're going to give up on them anytime soon. What say you, Vash?
So the company looked at these as, first, cash grab. No question about that, but also two brand deposits, right? How do you keep a brand relevant like Snow White that came out in 1937? Well, you go ahead and redo it and you launch it for a new generation. And boy, oh boy, did that work out really swell. It's just, I think the economic environment when it comes to movies has changed. I don't think necessarily these can be supported by somebody just kind of walking in or making a decision at the marquee or at the box office, what they're actually going to see, which I think a lot of these benefited from. I think the American consumer, or maybe even the international consumer, is a little bit more discerning what it actually spends money on to actually go see. And I just don't know if these live action films kind of fit. Now, certainly you can have success like a Lilo and Stitch, right? But Lilo and Stitch, that was made for less than half of what Moana was made for, and obviously made well over $1 billion. If you do it with some quality, and if you actually hit on the right zeitgeist, I think these things could be successful, but you got to be really choosy. Moana was problematic for several reasons. Now, to give Disney, to be fair to them, they didn't necessarily intend for Moana to be a theatrical, right? That was originally going on Disney Plus. When Bob Iger made that decision unilaterally, that really kind of upended all of Disney's plans right here. So, obviously, we're seeing a little bit maybe fatigue with this brand, right? This movie wasn't necessarily made with a ton of quality attached to it. I think that work came out. I think people are like, hey, even if I did want to go ahead and see Moana live action, hey man, to bring a family of 4 is well over $100. I'll just wait for it when it comes out on Disney Plus. I think a lot of people are making that determination right here, where previously they may not have, right? Previously it's like, oh yeah, sure, let's go ahead and see Beauty and the Beast. I just think it's a little bit different of an environment right now. And it's unfortunate because I think Disney was learning that lesson with Snow White. I think they were. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, Lilo. Oh, okay, let's go ahead and put Tangled in production. It's like, son of a beast. It's like, you just can't. Oh, my God. It's just ridiculous.
The one bright spot from Snow White was the fact that they did put on hold Tangled. And I was like, oh, right. Good. And then, yeah, Lilo and Stitch did well. And they're like, actually, never mind. We're going to go and do this. Now, yeah. I think one of the reasons Lilo and Stitch is a freaking phenom of merchandise. Like my daughter, I swear, any girl 8 to 12 is just into Stitch. My daughter's into it. It outsells Marvel and Star Wars at this point. So I think it's a different beast than Moana. Yeah. And also with Moana, you just had Moana 2 come out not that long ago.
Right.
And now you're going to do this live action remake, which kind of resets it. And then also, there's just some things that are just better in cartoon form. Not everything is going to work in a live action format. And I think that this movie is evident of that, in that the previews I saw of it, first of all, I thought The Rock looked ridiculous, like in his wig and all this stuff. It's just, the minute we saw, I think we went and saw, maybe it was Toy Story 5, and the Moana trailer played. First time I saw it on a movie theater screen, and I started laughing. My wife's like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "He looks ridiculous right now." And I just think like it just doesn't work. Like the whole movie, as whimsical as that movie's about, you know, spirits and all this stuff. And I like Moana. My daughter used to watch it all the time. I didn't think this was going to work. And clearly audiences have not thought this was going to work. Now, I guess to its credit, people that saw it have said it's pretty good, but I don't think it's appealed to anybody outside of probably the Disney demo that was already into this, would be my guess as to maybe why.
Yeah, and that's, you know, in the Disney demo, the Disney diehards, they're not substantial enough anymore to you know, carry slop. And I think this is kind of what this is, or at least that's what the general consensus from the marketplace has been. And that's most unfortunate. Now, Tangled currently in production, by the way, guys, so like it's coming out. I mean, unless they Batgirl it, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Casting looks pretty good from what I've seen of Tangled. But
Agatha, though,
I know. But I just don't trust them to pull it off right. And even Lilo and Stitch, that did well. I did not like the changes they made in that movie. The ending of that movie where their sister's like, I'm going off to, by the way, this gets into a little bit of the lore of that movie, so spoilers. You live in Hawaii. Why do you need to go to another university for marine life? You live in Hawaii. And then she ditches her sister and leaves her with a neighbor.
Well, she did have the teleporter, though, so that changes some things.
That's true.
You can check in whenever she wanted to.
Ohana meant nobody left behind, and yet
she wasn't leaving her behind. She was teleporting her doing that. It's like you know, walking out.
Yeah,
it's like walking out for school that day, right?
That's true. The alien tech does change it. I mean, that was when we came out of the movie. Like, I for the most part liked it, except for the end, and I was harping on the ending. My wife's like, just enjoy. I'm like, listen, if you don't nitpick this stuff, they think they can get away with changing everything. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm like you, OG. I've never been a fan of these live action remakes. I think in some of them have been better than others, but Disney quickly saw, and I get it from a brand standpoint on some level, where it's like, oh, you take these old animated classics, you revive them and give them what ideally speaking, you just update them, and it gives you, obviously you're going to make money off of it, whatever. But then they just started going, and then they ran out of the classics, and then they're like, well, what about the newer stuff? And now we're into this newer era where we're going to get probably a Frozen remake at some point here pretty soon.
Gotta get Frozen live action.
Yeah. And so it's like, I do agree with you, Vatch. I think if you look at movies now, it's all about the legs that it has. Like, if it's a good movie, it'll do well, the word of mouth. And then something like this starts off on a bad foot, the word of mouth isn't good, and then there's really no recovery for it. Because, like you said, people just be like, go to Disney Plus.
But even when they do well, right? Have any of them endured? Are we looking back and saying, "Oh, yeah, Maleficent, awesome stuff right there"?
Right,
that was fantastic. It's just kind of like,
well, Vash, you bring up a fantastic point. I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because The Rock over here, it's funny. The Rock,
pre-juice, I will just say that one, not this one.
Absolutely. But you bring up a great point, because even the best of these live action remakes, Cinderella is probably my favorite one out of all.
I was getting ready to say that Cinderella was the best one they've ever done. I agree.
Yes, yeah, it was great. But to Vash's point, it disappeared. Where is it? You don't see anything about it anymore. So these movies come, they go. Even when they make $1 billion, I mean, do you hear anything about the Emma Watson Beauty and the Beast anymore? That thing made $1 billion.
Aladdin. That made $1 billion. And Theme Park Wizard, you know, Gal Gadot, that cost them $1 billion. No, whoever cast for that movie, I like the producer regrets it. Like, it's just like terrible. Terrible.
Hell no. And you're like, perfect.
Let's have her sing. It's going to be fantastic.
Listen, Gal Gadot is better seen nor not heard, I think, is what most people would agree upon. She's a beautiful woman. I wouldn't say her acting is the best, but
now did Naomi Scott, who who I actually liked her a lot as Jasmine. Did she sing her own stuff in that movie, or was that somebody else? I don't remember. Do you know of Ash?
Back in the day, Jasmine did have a speaking voice and a singing voice. Well, let me go ahead and see.
Yeah, Naomi Scott. But anyway,
I think the reason Cinderella did so well, Haley Atwell.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Two big reasons.
Cap girl. That's an ongoing joke in our house because I'm very much into brunette women with certain things going on. My wife fits that, and she was just like, "Why do you like it? Why do you like Cap so much?" I'm like, "I love Captain America. I think about like I also used to be really skinny, and I didn't find the super soldier serum, but hey, you get Peggy," and she's like, "Oh, I see what this is going." I'm like, "Listen, it's all imaginary, okay?"
Apparently, she did perform all of her vocal parts for the movie.
She was good, and actually, the new song, I forgot the name of it, but it was actually pretty decent. I liked it, so yeah. The Aladdin thing was kind of not. The Aladdin movie wasn't like terrible. I'll say that. I didn't like Jafar though. I thought Jafar was like Timu Jafar. It was like a cheap version of like the animated show.
I couldn't personally deal with Will Smith as a genie. Maybe it's just because, and this is before the slap and all that other stuff though. But it's just Robin Williams is the genie. Like that's a hard act to follow. I think he didn't do terrible. And I used to love Will Smith, but I just like, that's a rough one to take, is like following up Robin Williams. And probably I would imagine, is the genie probably his signature role he's probably most known for? Is the genie?
That and Mrs. Doubtfire, I would say, is up there too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic because, he didn't necessarily like do that role to be very popular within it. He had obligations with with another film at the time, and he tried to downplay his involvement with that film for at least around the time that it actually released, and it amounted to a big back and forth with Jeffrey Katzenberg. It was a whole thing. But this is kind of ironic that that's kind of what he's known for, is the role that he was hesitant to take.
Well, and we talked about it pre-show, and shout out to Mr. Seymour Duck who brought it to my attention. Maui has no nipples, and the bodysuit does not have nipples. So
no Joel Schumacher here.
Yeah, they didn't have the Batman nipple situation happening. Yeah, they're just like, no nipples here. We can't have that's too much. Well, okay, one of the reasons. Now, what do you guys feel about The Rock? Because I think part of the reason Moana's not doing well is because I think people have Dwayne Johnson fatigue. And I say that because if you look at his box office, that's just really him in a movie headlining it. They don't do that well. His movies that have done pretty well are like ensemble casts. And I think this movie got made for maybe not for the most part, but his career is kind of in another lull. And I think he just went to something that's popular, which is Moana, and kind of got them to do this. And I think he was a big part of this. So this is now DC, and maybe Dwayne Johnson has ended the live action remakes for Disney. So maybe at the end of the day, it's doing a good thing for the world and having Moana come out, because we don't get any more live actions, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think they're going to move forward with the live actions. Maybe they'll pull back a little bit. I mean, I could see them maybe doing that.
But if Tangled tanks, I think they stop them.
Oh, if Tangled tanks, it's over. I don't think there's much after that. I think they, we haven't really heard of any live action films outside of that. So I think they're really kind of like, okay, if this has any viability in the future, it's going to be this one. If it doesn't, we're just going to go. Maybe Frozen, but I don't even know if they're that ambitious, especially off of the overexposure of the Moana brand, and obviously they're having repercussions right there, because you can really damage these things too. Yeah, that's something that they're going to think about as well. But I don't know why they did not go with Gravalo, to reprise her role with The Rock. They didn't go with Gravalo. I thought she would have been perfect, but
I mean, she looks young enough to pull it off. Yeah, I don't know why either, because and want to do it. I don't know if she acts anymore, but. I mean, I always think of, it was Bruce Campbell long ago. I remember this clip out of a con he was at. Somebody asked him a question about superhero movies, and he said the minute they stop making money, they will stop making these because they cost too much money. I think the same thing for live actions. Look at this one, $250 million. Probably more than likely the actual budget is closer to $3 million, because we know from Disney they typically spend much more than what they list. So this movie with advertising thrown in here is probably closer to $400 million, which means it probably needed to make about 800 million to break even. That's kind of the simplest math you can do. So I think at least $100 million is kind of hopeful, because I think this thing's going to end up losing a lot more. You can't do many more of these, because not only do they lose money, but like you were saying, it tarnishes the brand. And like Disney's been doing this lately too, where it's like, in the timing of this movie, you knew Toy Story 5 was going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
If you were unsure about Moana, why would you stick this like less than a month out from Toy Story? Because you can't even really celebrate now Toy Story, because everyone's going to be like, well, Moana. And they did this, like, what was it, 2 years ago? They had Inside Out 2, they had Moana 2, and they had Lilo and Stitch. But then following that up, what they have? They had the Thunderbolts, they had Captain America, they had Fantastic Four, they had Snow White. And then they had maybe Lilo and Stitch later that year that brought it up. So like they've been like either hot or just cold at the box office. It's really not been
extremes for sure.
I think shareholders might be asking questions too, right? Because it's kind of like, is your Moana brand not as significant anymore? You know, when you have these kind of shortfalls right here, and what does it say about the larger Disney brand, and whether this could be a whole portfolio of films that's just taken off the slate from here on. Obviously, there's questions regarding that as well when it comes to the entertainment output of the company. So it's just got a lot of implications here. I would hope that they kind of reverse course on this. I think they were going to, and they were like, nah, we can't help ourselves. And so I think Tangled might be it.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Well, and I do think too. Remy brings up Minions, and he's not wrong on that. Like I think Toy Story 5 is really hurting a lot of these movies, because Minions is underperforming too. For a Minion movie, it should be doing way better.
And also, I think that people are kind of tired of Minions though too.
Yeah, maybe they are. I mean, but it's just that movie is not doing great, and but Toy Story's gonna crack $1 billion pretty soon. So,
but the thing that helps the Minions movies in Illuminations is they make those movies for cheap.
Yeah,
I think Minions cost under 100 million, so like really their break-even point is much lower. So even if Moana or like say Toy Story 5 makes more at the box office, doesn't necessarily mean it's more profitable.
I didn't see a lot of ad spend for that either. So that's the other thing too, right? Like they're taking a more conservative approach to that franchise, which might have been warranted.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can make an argument Minions may have run its course, but they'll do it until it just no longer makes any money.
Well, they have to, because Minions has kind of become the Mickey Mouse of Universal. That's like their icon, you know?
I'm actually surprised they haven't done a Minions like kid show. That's kind of what I was more surprised they haven't done. Given Peacock doesn't have anything on it that really draws people to it, I feel like if Minions took off as a streaming show, like a Bluey, or I mean, I don't know, you could do it. I'm surprised they haven't tried to go down that path. But
interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it's I mean, it's been an interesting summer actually for the box office. You know,
it's been that way for a couple of years. It's just stuff either hits or it doesn't. And then this year you got a bunch of those independent type movies that are doing well, and I think that's going to be a common trend going into the future. Is a lot more of these independent movies. I don't think I think it used to be a little bit of a stigma when something was looked at as like indie that people didn't go see it. I kind of think that's gone now, and so it's much more of a level playing field. So even a Disney can go up against an Obsession, and Obsession might beat it. And it's not like how it was even 5 years ago, really.
Word of mouth is really important as well. I mean, you basically live or die by those early reviews or whatever, you know. And I'm not saying like critics. I'm just saying like contemporaries. Like, you know, if it's somebody you trust coming out of the theater saying, don't see this film. I mean, look at Supergirl. That thing dogs out at the box office, because that word of mouth really started getting around, not just from reaction to the film, but also to, you know, the issues, you know, related to it and everything like that. So word of mouth and how everybody's treating these films, I think has a particular role in whether or not you're successful like an Obsession, or whether you just don't even have a chance. I'm really interested. I know Raven Real Studios, he just said it. Going to be real interested to see what happens with Odyssey, because, you know, there's some conversations there that haven't been previously associated with Christopher Nolan pieces.
Well, and like you're seeing too, just because of names there doesn't guarantee you a huge box office. Now, I think Nolan's name will get like the opening weekend is going to get people in the seats, undoubtedly.
Oh yeah.
then it becomes what are people saying at that point. And I think that's such a different thing. What you're seeing now is stuff that, like, we saw this with Guardians 3 a little bit. It didn't start off to the best start, but it had legs on it and ended up being pretty profitable for them. I think at least broke even and made some money. Whereas you probably off the opening weekend, you would not have thought that would have been the case. So it's interesting how audiences are doing that. And I found this here. Den Peterson brings up this. Jared brings up a good point, although I think Vash brought it up first. Lots of companies are hurting because the audience can wait till it hits their streaming, whereas indie stuff isn't tied to a big company. And I don't think I don't think anymore audiences much care if it's a big thing. And sometimes you can even say it hurts a movie if it is a big studio because people have so much mistrust in Hollywood now. So when something is indie, they're like, oh, I'm willing to give this a shot, because a lot of this is the YouTube creators that already have a built-in audience that will be, if you think about from a marketing standpoint, they're your advertisers. If it is good, they'll go out there and tell everybody. And Disney has the marketing machine, but they don't necessarily have that foot ground, that the ground game that maybe an indie product does if it's a good movie. And
OG, we've seen that in the theme park space, right? You know, when it comes from the company itself and they're touting lands, attractions, whatever, it resonates with some. But when you hear your favorite content creator going all about, I don't know, Monsters Inc. and how, what they're doing there and how they got a tour and all of that, it just comes out differently. And so some of these things are received differently because of that, when you just hear it from somebody that you trust versus just the corporate product. So there's certainly that going on there, Jared. Authenticity is king.
Yeah,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Rock Blazer here says director reputation matters more than anything else these days. Guys like Nolan, Villeneuve, and Cameron. Villeneuve. I can't ever say that. What Vash said. And Cameron know how to get butts in the seats. Well, and that's the thing. I think Odyssey will make money. I don't think it's not going to make money. Anybody that's saying it's going to bomb, I don't think it's going to bomb. I guess the question is, like, I don't know if it outperforms Oppenheimer. And what you could see is if this movie is not received well, you might have that effect happen with the next movie. It could be the case.
Right.
I think there's enough interest. Like, I'm going to go see it. And I think Remy D or somebody pointed out that a lot of the showings are for IMAX because this is very IMAX heavy release. So that will help it make more money because those IMAX tickets are more expensive. So in Nolan's defense, he hasn't come out with really a dud yet. I mean, I think his weakest would have been Tenet probably, but even during COVID, that still made $400 million. So like, at this point, he hasn't had anything that's come out that has really been openly like the audiences have been like, this is terrible.
Well, Jared, what was that movie that you and I both love? The space movie that he did.
Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Yeah, that movie was sick, dude. That was really good. I love that movie.
I had not watched it since I had children. And so a couple weeks ago, my wife were like, let's rewatch it. That movie hits way different when you have kids. Like, especially a daughter. That thing hit me hard, like really hard. I was like, okay.
I remember seeing Interstellar when
I don't even have kids, and I was a mess in that movie. I couldn't imagine, Yeah. It was crazy. Go ahead, Bash.
I remember seeing that in the theaters when it came out, and I was like, this is just... it's fantastic, And that movie was weird because when it came out, it wasn't like seen as like his best, and I'm just like, I mean, it's like they were rating like 6 to 7, 8. I'm like, dude, there's some genius there. Now people have kind of come back around and said that's a good picture, and it's like, yeah. So he doesn't produce crap, and look, I'll say this about the casting stuff because people have been asking my opinion on this, and all of that. Look. You got to think, right? Universal, they really did go after Nolan because he's one of the hit makers, right? He's one of those guys that you throw him on a marquee, no matter what it is, gonna get butts in seats. It's just kind of the nature of that animal right there. So they acquiesced and gave him carte blanche to get him from Warner Brothers and to make movies for them, and it's been a successful relationship. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
But you gotta think though, right? When you're doing big budget stuff, you're gonna have investors that come in to fund these projects, to fund these movies. Are they necessarily going to fund something, right, that isn't Oscar worthy or is in contention for an Oscar to win one because of the regulations that they set.
Right.
So that's the other thing you got to understand. A lot of people said, well, a lot of these decisions are made because, he won an Oscar. It's like, no. He might not get his movie made at all unless he plays ball, which is maybe why those rules were changed in that way, right? So you got to think, like, there's a little bit of that involved as well. I understand. There's a lot of, a lot of people going back and forth on this, and certainly there have been some interviews in which the content has been brought up about, dad, father, all of that.
Yeah. I think the dialogue might be weak from what I've heard, just some of the, like calling him dad and not father for that. But I think, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of the casting that has been controversial, really, they aren't in the movie that much. I think the biggest risk this movie runs is probably being boring, would be my guess, is what you could see a movie like this, it's going to be 3 hours long. I not that it would be a bad movie, but if it's 3 hours long and it's not really like captivating you, that could turn people away just because they'd be the same thing. They might be like, well, okay, I'll watch this at home for 3 hours, because 3 hours is a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Especially like this set through.
It's one of the things I appreciate about Interstellar, because it's kind of like, it's like a tight script, even though it's complex. And, it has, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that they try to convey to you, a lot of expositionary dialogue. It's like, it's tight, and some of these others, like Oppenheimer, they get a little bit long. So you're right, Jared. It might not be captivating. It might not be engaging. But, the guy still hits. So I guess we'll see. July 17th? I remember a year before this movie even came out, sold out of all of its tickets. A year in front of it, maybe that's not the case now, but still, I mean, he's the dude.
Yeah. Well, and Rockblaze bring up a good point. I mean, people sat through a 3-hour biopic about a scientist. That was shocking to me that Oppenheimer, like, it really is. So, I mean, I'm not going to, that's the thing. You can question a lot of this stuff. I look at it and go, I don't know. But at this point, his track record, until that changes, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to be one of those people that say, oh, this movie's going to bomb. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't know if it hits $1 billion, but we'll see. I mean, I will go see it. I love that type of stuff. Like, I love Troy in those type of movies. So it's right in my wheelhouse. So, we'll see how it does. And I don't know if does it have much competition coming up after it? Oh, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man could actually be Spider-Man comes out, like, when does Spider-Man come out? It's not that long after the Odyssey.
Because I thought it was a little bit of leg room right there. Let me just say here.
It comes out August 10th.
Okay.
No, sorry. No. Okay, sorry. That was hold on. Where is the thing?
Rudio is saying 2 weeks.
July 31st.
That's kind of close.
And I think Spider-Man, here's my off the wall prediction. I think Spider-Man might out-earn Doomsday, because Spider-Man's early ticket sales are insane, and Spider-Man's a huge property. But if Spider-Man takes off like that, that's what actually could hurt the Odyssey, it being so close to Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's a battle for the PLFs. That's what it really is. So it's only going to have 2 weeks to get those PLFs, and they're going to have to start splitting. And, that might affect it. It really might. But you know what? Barbenheimer. You just never know.
True. That's true. We'll see how it does. But in terms of live action remakes, I hope they end soon. I really
me too. It's been a decade or more of these, and it's been horrible.
Get back to making national treasures. Remember the Titans, like these
Mighty Ducks.
Like, these feel good movies. Like, I don't know why. I mean, I get it. It's changed. That may seem like a streaming movie at this point, but I still think something like that could work if you got Jerry Bruckheimer involved and you got the good producer and actors in there. I think you can make it work, but I don't know. They're gonna have to pivot some way, because I think that what they've been relying on, which is Marvel, Star Wars, and live action remakes, I think they're all kind of coming to a head in terms of the end of their like $1 billion runs every single movie. And so now you got to go back to the drawing board and be like, what are we going to do here?
Exactly. Remy D says Disney doesn't make mid-budget movies. They don't anymore, Remy, and they but they should.
They should. They
I don't get it.
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you can do it. And I think that's why a lot of these studios will use AI a lot more to bring down those back end costs. That's where you'll probably see AI come in a ton on these movies. Is like think about Disney. How many redundant departments do they probably have for a movie that makes those budgets go crazy. Whereas, you know, you come and trim some of that stuff out. And even if a movie doesn't make $1 billion, let's say it only costs $100 million to make it, you make $500 million at the box office, you're still profitable at the end of the day. You didn't make $1 billion, but you made money. And I think maybe these like small ball wins is kind of what you need to kind of go back to, because you can't rely on these tent poles. If you know it's going to make $1 billion, it's not hard to spend $300 million. But if it's unsure, it's a big loss to take if you're not quite sure. But we'll see how that shapes up. But that is all the topics that I have. I do have, we have a new member here. XOXO Alexandria became a member. Thank you, Alexandria. Appreciate that. And appreciate everybody chatting and super chatting and all that stuff this evening. It's always a great time with you guys. We greatly appreciate your time and generosity. It is never expected. It is always appreciated. And so we greatly appreciate that. But before we get out of here, be sure to let everybody know where they can catch you guys. Mr. Orange Grove 55, where can they find you? And of course, thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you guys. And thank you everybody. We had a huge turnout tonight. So really appreciate everybody for hanging out with us this evening. Real quick, Showcase says that the last Indiana Jones movie was really popular. Let's put it in Animal Kingdom. You know, I mean, he's not wrong, but I mean, if they're going to do a Tron ride, man, Indy's like a gold mine compared to that. So
that's true.
That's wild. But it's good to see everybody in the chat. Appreciate everybody. And Vash and Jared, always an honor, sirs. You can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking nerdy theme park, studio, corporate side, even, you know, rap battles and Egyptian pyramids. We talk about it all over there.
And Wizard said we got 30 more minutes of talk about rap battles, though. So I mean, I don't know if Vash is actually. This is the conversation last night. Vash, were you ever, or are you into rap?
Not a big rap guy. Well, you know, I may have had.
Did you dabble?
I was in high school for like a little bit. Yeah, I dabbled just a little bit, but you know,
I had the theory
as far as rap
Vash
artists.
might have some flow to him, but I didn't want to presume. I didn't know. By the way, I was the guy in high school. I had two 12-inch woofers in my car. I mean, you just heard me rattling around the road. That was me in high school. I was the cool guy on license plate that my wife makes fun of to this day. But before I go, I was going to remember. You guys remember actually when Bob Iger said Moana wasn't profitable enough to put into the theme parks at one point?
I don't remember that.
That was long ago. I think it was when Moana first came out. I remember there was talk about Moana going in somewhere, and then Disney said that Moana wasn't quite the hit enough to go into the parks. And I thought of that from your point, OG, about now you have like Tron, and you've got these movies that don't make money that end up in the theme parks with less than a decade later. It's just kind of funny.
Well, it is. Yeah, because it was around that Frozen time. Frozen was like huge, and then Moana comes out, it's like, you know, whereas if it's like reversed, it's different. But I think streaming, like once they saw the reaction to Moana on streaming, then it was like, ooh, okay, this is a very profitable franchise.
Yeah, they must have like different markers. Like they must be looking at a lot of other stuff when they make these decisions.
Absolutely.
If it's just
merch.
Merch. Oh, I know the Cars franchise is one of the biggest. It moves merch like you wouldn't believe.
I can believe that. And Remy D, no, Will Smith rap songs don't count.
No, they do not count.
Those don't count. But I agree now with Red Bandana Gaming, rap is crap. I don't like rap now, really. OG still does. I used to be heavy into it. I don't even know anybody nowadays. But
I'll say this though. I think a couple different things. I think that rap really doesn't have a good like current like generation of rappers to like take it into the future. Because I mean, like all the rappers that are relevant right now are like the old heads.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Kendrick is 40, you know, Drake is like 40, you know, Jay-Z, Eminem, these are all older guys. I mean, who's hot right now? 6ix9ine? Come on, get out of here.
I don't even know who that is.
I'm just saying, you know, but and the other thing I wanted to say too is I think as you get older, your taste in rap kind of changes. Like I can't sorry about that. As you get older, your taste kind of changes, right? Like I can't listen to like that Drake like clubby rap anymore. It's like, okay, it's not like I'm not at that point in my life right now. But I appreciate like good rap though. Like I can still do Wu-Tang, I can still do Nas, Jadakiss, you know, like more lyrical, more intellectual. That I think as you get older is like what you kind of you know, go towards.
Also, whenever you have a daughter, you're listening to these songs, you're like, I have a daughter. Like, no, this is terrible. But didn't forget, before we get out of here, Mr. 10K subscribers, Vash Sky. Congrats again on 10K, and he's going to be celebrating tomorrow. But where can everybody find you and where to tune in tomorrow?
Hey, best place to tune in to find me and to celebrate along with us going to be at Vash Sky Parkcast at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Following that Park Place, if you're already watching that Park Place, cool, you'll be redirected. For those who might not, well, go ahead and just tune in to Vash Sky Parkcast, where you can find our 10K celebration. Invite Jared, invite OG. Can't guarantee they'll be there, but they did get the invites right there. Invited a whole bunch of people. Hopefully they all come join us there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun going over, the people who, made that success possible right there. It's definitely in honor of them, and it's in honor of you guys out there who have certainly subscribed and shared the channel out. Thank you so much for that. You can also find me on X as well. That's probably going to be the best place where you can find my, thoughts if they're not actually recorded in video format. I don't know if we're going to have a show on Thursday. The only reason I say that is because there's not a lot going on right there. There are some family issues that have come up in my life, so that might be affecting the schedule just a little bit right there, but I promise that won't be a regular thing. If you like more content from me, Vash and Vixen as well, if you're a member to the Vash Sky Parkcast, it's a wonderful program that I do with Vixen right there. We just did a 2-hour thing on the history of Space Mountain. Absolutely fantastic. You got to listen to it. You're going to love it. So you can find that all more at, the links, I'm sure, provided by the various mods and everybody out there. Thank you so much, Jared OG, for having me on.
Absolutely. And all of your guys' stuff is in the description on my end. And if you're on simulcast, you can find me at Captain Magic. I do kind of similar to OG, just East Coast version and a mix of Vash. I sometimes talk West Coast. I know more about the West Coast stuff now from hanging with you guys more, so I'm a little bit more tuned into it. But that's where you can find me. I do daily videos over there. And then, of course, we have Theme Park in here. And I think I may start doing a Friday midday stream, maybe like a week of roundup news or something. I don't know. Probably when I get back. I'm going to be out of town next week. So next week's show will probably look a little different. I'm going to be on the road. So I might be able to tune in. Maybe. I don't know where I'm going to be and what the internet setup will be like, but you will have Vash and OG here and maybe some guests as well next week. But always love being here with you guys. And thank you again for everybody in the chat, or in the comments, and everybody that super chatted. Get Juliet, Kiki and Luca had a gifted membership. Space Dave, Julie, I'm going to mess that up. Julie Axelrod. I think I got that right. Metalcore Breakdown, Theme Park Wizard, Kiki and Luca again, and Baba Snake and XOXO Alexandra became members. So thank you guys very much. And there's one more here. I'll hit you up, Logan, because I'm curious. I've heard of that music, but I've never listened to it. So I'm curious to hear from that. I like some metal stuff, but it just kind of depends. But all right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys very much. We will see you very soon. And be sure to check out Vash tomorrow. I will be there tomorrow, Vash, at least for like an hour or so. I may have more time. We'll see. But check it over at Vash Celebration 10K stream. But we will see you guys all later. And have a great evening and the great rest of your week. See you guys.
Peace.